Hey everybody, welcome. You are watching Rosicrucianism, week 3 in our study. Today is Saturday, August 23rd, 2025. Welcome, glad that you are here. I'm going to start us off with a little Goldberg variation from Bach and some little factoids. And then I've got a really great presentation from Alan Watts. He's going to be talking about the importance of both structure and chaos and how we need these in our lives to realize balance and profundity. I'll see you guys around the top of the hour. Thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to the night.
Now, as a game becomes predictable, it becomes boring. That's why people don't want to know their future. If you could go to a fortune teller or astrologer who would tell you just exactly what was going to happen to you, we all have a certain reluctance, I think, to do that. Because if we know what the outcome of something will be, it's not worth doing it. If you know the result of a certain course of action, you will lose the inclination to take it. The fascination of life, the fascination of games, is the unknown result, not the known result. So then, between the unintelligible complexity of three-dimensional chess and the all too intelligible non-complexity of tic-tac-toe, there lie games like bridge, checkers, chess, poker, wherein we get a certain kind of blend of chance and skill. Games of pure skill tend to work themselves into a blind alley. We get people who are monsters of skill. The great chess masters, the great golfers, great shooting people who, bounce a ping pong ball on the ground and suddenly shoot it through with an arrow. I can't compete with that. I think it's fascinating, I think it's marvelous, but I can't play with that. So what we're all looking for is an element of randomness and an element of order. Some skill in relation to some randomness. So we get optimal games in the middle. And we feel that these are games which have a future. You can get interested in them. And you can go on and on and on and on playing them. Because, on the one hand, you will never master them. And on the other hand, they will never seem to you absolutely beyond your ability, as three-dimensional chess might. So you've got here a possibility of challenging the disorder of pure chance, and yet you will never arrive at the point of conquering it. And for some reason, the human being finds this to be a beautiful situation. Let me switch immediately the whole analogy to another field altogether, the field of gardening. In the 18th century, there was a fashion for formal gardens, where all the tulips formed fours, where trees were clipped in the art of topiary to resemble peacocks and sundials and elephants and all kinds of things, and where all gardens were arranged on a symmetrical plan. At that time in history, there was even somebody who complained that the Lord God had not properly arranged the stars in the sky. That if he had made symmetrical patterns, the heavens would be far more beautiful than they are with the scatter. But don't we recognize today, from our aesthetic point of view, that the scatter of stars is lovely? What would you think of a heavens where the stars were all arranged at even intervals in concentric circles? Would you like that? Would you like to go out at night and see that? No. We like the stars scattered as they are, and we also like to see, when the waves break on the shore, the patterns of foam. And you know, the funny thing is, you can look at those patterns hour after hour and realize that they never make an aesthetic mistake. Never. They never do anything inelegant, just like a cat. It never makes a bad move. Do you make a bad move? Ever? Or are you like a cat? Or like patterns on the phone? It's quite a question. But there seems to be somewhere an optimal situation. Everything arranged symmetrically and in an ordered way, we understand, and we feel safe there, but we don't like it. It's confining. Everything purely chaotic, we can't make out at all. But there's somewhere a middle ground in relation to whatever degree of complexity the human nervous system has attained. There is a middle ground which we feel comfortable in because it's orderly, and yet at the same time it contains an element of excitement and unpredictability. And the balance of these two things is what we call the good life. So this is a practical application of the theory of games, behavior. You've got to have two ingredients, you see. The ingredient of control and the ingredient of no control. And always be sure you have both. Now, we're living in a culture that is opposed to this, which believes that life can be controlled. That wants, or thinks it wants, it doesn't really want, but thinks it wants, to cut out the random element. And so we constantly say there should be a law against it, whatever it is. And we are, by doing that, by working in that direction, we are going to create for ourselves a society, a culture in which everything is regulated. It will be safe that way. But the society which is foolproof, where the laws are really efficient so that they're properly enforced, and there's the minimum opportunity for anyone to make a mistake, that society is the complete 1984 Big Brother setup. Nobody enjoys it. The game is no longer worth the candle. There's no risk. There's no adventure. To be completely safe is to be completely dead. On the other hand, you can see that the opposite of that is equally absurd, where there isn't any regulation, where you have a kind of anarchy, and where everybody has to carry a sword, as it's becoming in New York today. You have to go around armed in New York because of the proliferation of street crimes. Nobody wants that either. So we're always looking in the problem of government, the problem of law, the problem of control, for an optimal balance between liberty and license, and between control and spontaneity. And exactly the same problem exists for the painter, the sculptor, the musician. You see, let's take one of the very greatest of Western musicians, is J.S. Bach. To our ears, he appears symmetrical, orderly, stately. But every so often, Bach actually introduces a trick. He has a wonderful control of dissonances. He lets things happen and so combines his formality with little touches of informality. Just little touches, just a bit. So much salt in the stew, and keeps you constantly fascinated.
Here we are. Let me remove this. Welcome, everybody. Can you believe it's Saturday night again? I mean, the weeks just fly by now. This is crazy. I mean, I feel like I just sat down here yesterday and presented 3.5 hours of this stuff, and I cannot believe we are already there again. So welcome, everyone. I wanted to take a minute this round to welcome anyone that's new. I'm getting new subscribers and new people finding me every month. And so if you're new here, welcome. We have quite a chat room in my live. There's a lot of people that come here that actually just want to engage in the chat room, and they have entire conversations that go down that I have no idea what's happening, but they have a great time. And so all I ask, if you want to participate in chat, which is great, but all I ask is that you just are kind to others. We welcome alternate opinions here because
I absolutely know, and I think most people that watch me absolutely know, that nobody knows exactly what's happening. We all have opinions, and those opinions are important. And your being here is important because you bring a whole experience, a whole life experience, and a whole entourage of opinions that maybe some people need to hear. The important thing is, though, is to not try and convince anyone that you're right and not try and convert anyone. The idea is to just present your concepts, your notions, your opinion, and allow people to decide for themselves. Don't try and force. Last week, we had some kind of nutty, crazy things being said. And so I just want to encourage everyone to don't take things to heart. These are opinions. You are in a room filled with people that have their own notions. We don't subscribe into anything here, really. Or I should say, this isn't a belief system. And we're just here to share and help each other grow. And so in that sense, your opinion is very important, just like my opinion is very important, because these opinions help us grow. But it doesn't help us grow when it's angry and it's mean and unconsiderate. So that's all I ask, is that you just be kind and speak to people here as though you were speaking to a loved one, and that would probably make things easy. Now, last week I mentioned I got a letter this week from someone, and this was a major faux pas on my part. But last week I mentioned that I had shown you guys some of my theories in regards to the moon, in regards to the capture system that was set up over 800,000 years ago, and the dismantling of that, as well as some incredible information from a gentleman named Bruce Fenton. You can find him on Twitter at geological, that's just the word, geological, SETI, SETI. And I'm telling you this for a reason, but that's how you can find him. He is a researcher in the whole world of unidentified flying objects and that whole extraterrestrial thing. And he is a genuinely good person that is trying to share information, and he's not a grifter, and he's not trying to take anything from anyone. He just has some radical ideas and theories. And so he has there's a video I have of his, and it's about an hour and 20 minutes edited. And so I intended to play that a number of weeks ago. I thought I had. And so when I intended to play that a couple of weeks ago, I actually decided to do my Rosicrucian thing. And when I got started on that, I hadn't realized that I hadn't run that video. And so now that it's an hour, his video is an hour and 20 minutes, and it describes an 800,000-year-old confrontation that happened right over the coast of Florida. And there's a debris field that he traces of all these different mineral elements that could not have naturally formed. And he has the physics, and he has all of the science necessary to explain this debris field that he talks about. And it comes out of the same confrontation that originated with the whole thing with the moon. And I think a lot of people are starting to figure out that there was a whole lot of conflict going on before we came into the picture, and that there were much more intelligent, higher vibrational creatures that were involved in this whole development. And so there's a whole theory that goes along with Bruce's work that supports this idea that we are the result, we're the farm creatures that come out of this whole quote unquote ownership of the planet that all went down hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so I thought I had played that, and so I mentioned to you guys in the comments, I said, this is just like the stuff I was talking, or that I showed you guys in regards to the moon, and I hadn't. So now I'm kind of in a pickle, because I want you guys to see that video from Bruce, especially the edited down version, because it has basically the most important details. But I wanted you guys to see, why is my phone ringing so much? I'm going to shut my phone off. Sorry, hang on. There. Because I want you guys to see what he's talking about, because it's important and it's pertinent to what we do, because we are living in the aftermath of these things. And so I don't know if I should start like an hour and 20 minutes early next week or some week in the future so you guys can see that, or if I should just leave it to you guys and you guys can just go off and check out Bruce's work. I've told you his X page, and he's got links, videos. You can, if you want to find out some incredible stuff from Bruce, you can. He's all up on Twitter, and he's not super popular, so it's nice. You can. I've actually had direct interaction with him in the comments, so he's not one of these people that is so big that like your comments are never going to reach them, and you can actually still reach Bruce. And he's a really nice guy, genuinely nice guy. So you should check out his stuff. But I'm trying to decide if I should start there early. It's so early though. That would push my show to over 4 hours, and that just sounds crazy to me. But I don't know what you guys want, so I'll ask you guys in comments here in a minute. But what I wanted to do before I asked you in comments, someone last week, I think it was Madame Butterfly, asked about the law of one and Rosicrucianism. And I really didn't answer her question, or his question, whoever it is, but I didn't answer their question. I went off into this tangent about Christianity, and I failed to come back to address that. And so I wanted to address that. So I wrote down a couple of paragraphs here that really helps answer that question for you, Madam Butterfly. So hopefully this will help. So here's the answer. The main differences between Rosicrucianism and the law of one lie in their origins, structures, and specific cosmologies. Rosicrucianism emerged as a 17th century European movement rooted in deist mysticism, Hermeticism, and alchemical texts like the Fama Fraternitatis, often organized into formal orders with initiatory rituals and monographs for structured learning. In contrast, the law of one is a modern channeled philosophy from the 1980s derived from sessions with an entity named Ra, I'm sure that's the Egyptian entity, incorporating extraterrestrial elements, densities of existence, wanderers, and concepts like harvest or ascension that blend Eastern Dharmic, Eastern India ideas with Western esotericism. Terminology diverges significantly. Rosicrucianism avoids specific law of one phrases like mind-body-spirit complex or social memory complex, and while Rosicrucianism emphasizes practical alchemy and societal reform, the law of one prioritizes polarity choices and infinite intelligence without a framework. Rosicrucianism and law of one philosophy share profound similarities in their emphasis on the unity of all existence, viewing the universe as an interconnected whole where everything stems from a larger singular divine source. Both traditions posit that spiritual enlightenment arises from understanding this oneness, with Rosicrucian teachings highlighting the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual realms, we're going to talk about that today, through principles like mentalism and correspondence, while the law of one asserts that all things are one, and all beings are expressions of the infinite creator, which is like Rosicrucianism. I'll explain that tonight. They both promote self-improvement and spiritual evolution as core pursuits, encouraging practitioners to refine their consciousness and align their higher truths for personal transformation and service to humanity. Concepts like vibration, rhythm, and polarity are in both, drawing from Hermetic influences, obviously, in Rosicrucianism and manifesting as energetic densities and polarities, like service to others versus service to self in the law of one, fostering a shared mystical approach to exploring human meaning, motivations, and metamorphosis. And finally, additionally, both philosophies incorporate esoteric practices like symbolism, alchemy, and channeling to access hidden knowledge, aiming to minimize distortions in perceiving reality. Rosicrucianism's focus on positive thinking, reincarnation, and the marriage of science and mysticism echoes the law of one's teachings on free will, love, light, and the evolutionary journey of the soul through the cycles of experience. This overlap is evident in shared themes of cosmic unity and consciousness exploration, with both encouraging open-mindedness and compassion as pathways to enlightenment, often influenced by ancient wisdom traditions such as Egyptian mysticism drawn from Atlantean esoterica. As Ram Dass said, we all are just leading each other home. So, and that really is the theme. And I mentioned that last week with y'all, and that I mentioned that all of these esoteric disciplines and all this mysticism and all these mythologies are really, at the end of the day, centered on this idea of mind transformation, human transformation, perspective transformation. They're all obsessed with that. And that's because you change the perception of the individual, you change their behavior. When they see themselves and they see the world differently, that will change their response to themselves, their behavior. That will change their whole interaction with themselves and the world, because their perspective is different. And like I said last week, you get above the canopy and you see the larger perspective, you will change your course. When you climb back down into the forest again, into the twilight, you'll change your course, because you now have in your mind this perception that you saw above the canopy. And it will change your behavior, change your course as you are in the forest navigating life, the forest being life. Okay? And so all of these cosmologies are all pointing towards that more mature, that higher vibration approach, because you can't get that through demand. You can't demand someone to appropriate behavior. They must be inspired. The behavior must comes out of them. That's where this whole idea of integrity comes from, where when nobody's watching, your behavior is inspired. Even though you know no one's looking and no one's going to hold you accountable, your behavior is inspired because you are inspired from within to behave appropriately, because your perspective is so much larger. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And in fact, I was contacted this week by a few people, more than one, who suggested to me that I get on the show with Jason with Archaics. And I've reached out to him. I've wanted to do that, because what I offer is the psychological response to the history that he's uncovered. He's much more of a historian, a scholar than I am, but his focus hasn't been as much in the actual psychology, the behavioral psychology that goes along with finding out your alternate history, finding out the conspiracies, because these things have impression and impact on you. And I feel that my role here is to walk and guide with folks who have found out the alternate history, who have found out that the world is a farm, who have found out that we are cattle by those who are leading us. They think of us as cattle. And so there's a psychology, a weight, a mental weight that goes along with that. So it's absolutely important to get the historical idea, but at the same time, there's a recovery that has to occur. There's a recovery, because when you find out that everything you know is a lie, there's a whole psychology that goes along with that. And it's important to find that stuff out, because it will change your behavior. And that's the whole point of what we're doing here, is it not? To become more and more and more appropriate in the actual reality that we are in. I mean, why would you not want that to be the case? And in the same way of raising your kids, you form your parenting, you form your tutelage around around the personality, the characteristics of your child. And each child needs a different approach. They're not the same. It's not one size fits all. And in the same, any parent would know that. And in the same way, spirituality is exactly like that. It is not one size fits all. And that's why it's important to engage these different mythologies, these cosmologies, the mythos that have been offered to you by all these different cultures down through time, or back through time. That's why it's so important, because it's not one size fits all. And you only, just like trying on the suit or trying on the dress, it may look one way on the model, but it's going to look totally different on you. And you have to put that on before you know, does this resonate with me? Does this costume work with me? I'm talking about spirituality. Does this costume, this spiritual costume, cause me to resonate? Raise my awareness, raise my vibration, bring about appropriate behavior with no one having to hold a club over my head, but simply because I feel convicted, because I see this higher, larger perspective that's above the everyday norm. And it's work. It is work to do that. And the society is against you because nobody wants to hear about it. They got enough problems, quote unquote, as it is. So the last thing they want to start thinking about is reevaluating their entire life ontology. Okay, so that's why I think it would be a good idea for me to get with Jason, because I think I can offer an aspect, a perspective that his scholarly work can't, simply be due to time. I mean, it takes a lot of time to work through these things, and you have to be pretty dedicated on your subject matter. So anyway, that's kind of a little synopsis of what happened this week and what's been going on. And then as well as why I mentioned Moon thing, and then welcoming all the newbies. Okay, awesome. Let's go to chat and let's see how you guys are doing. Let's see what's up in chat. And then we're going to get started on the presentation. Okay, here we are. Does anyone have any questions? Welcome back, 9mm. We missed you, buddy. Yeah, exactly, Graphics 29. That's exactly right. Effortless act. That's it. That's it. Did that go up? Where did it go? There. This. Effortless action. Exactly. That is it. Effortless action. That's it. Where you don't have to be told how to behave appropriately. It comes from within you because you're a human. You have humaneness. You have virtuosity already in you. It's simply a matter of tapping it. And that is not something beaten out. It's like the drill instructor that says the beatings will continue until morale improves. Morale is not going to improve continuing to beat the subjects. Behavior is not going to improve continuing to condemn and beat down the misbehavior, the individual who's misbehaving. And that's why considering yourself a sinner is a bad idea. It's a self-beat down. And it's not going to cause effortless action. It's not. It's a psyop. It's a psyop. Chuck, where's this question here? Chuck, if we are, hi Pablo, if we are in a simulation, also known as a matrix, then it doesn't include us on being the version of ourselves. Then it doesn't include. See, I don't believe, okay, there's a lot of different ways to take the idea of a simulation. Now, this gets into predestiny, and this gets into the whole concept of the folks that think that before you're born, you're sitting down and you're choosing your life, you're choosing what's going to happen to you, you're choosing what you're going to learn, you're choosing. And I see life, I see existence as much more organic. I don't see it as a controlled field like that. So a matrix, you can consider, if you think about it, it sounds like a control field, and it can be. But a matrix can also be a free field. It just depends on how you take it. It just depends on how you see it. And so being the version of ourselves, I'm wondering if you meant the best version of ourselves or the only version of ourselves. I'm wondering if on being the version of ourselves, because I do think, and we're going to get into this tonight, I do think when you incarnate out of the monad, out of the ether, and you come into the earth, you travel to the earth through space, where we come from. When you travel to the earth as a soul creature, you are influenced organically by the positions of the planets, by the position of the earth in comparison to the black hole, by your by just the way you come into play, brings about in you an emotional field, brings about in you perspective and characteristics that are unique to you. Remember, I said just a moment ago, every child is different. That's because when they come into existence, they're going through a unique field. And this impresses upon their dynamic, their dynamisms that they're born with. This has impression upon it. We're going to talk about this specifically tonight. And to me, in my opinion, and this is where I would probably not agree with you, Pablo, I believe that our experience here on the earth is organic. It's not a planned field. And it's organic in the sense that what happens to you is based upon the decisions you make, the organic life you're living, the impressions that are upon you, that come upon you as you live life, and you leave the house and you leave the comfort and the protection of your family, and you set out on your own. And to me, the whole point of that setting out on your own is to re-identify yourself, is to find out who you really are. And so I do think that in this matrix, because it is an illusion, nature is an illusion, it is a matrix, it is, but I feel, in my opinion, that it's organic. It's not a control matrix. Here's where I'm going to disagree with a number of you. It's not a control matrix in the holistic sense any more than the universe is a control matrix that's becoming on a track, that's becoming on a set way with a telos. There is no telos. Just like there is no telos for your life, because you can learn continuously through until the day you die. There's no end point. That's a type of identity. That's a type of perspective to take onto the world, thinking there is no end point. I am here for the ride, and through that ride, I'm certainly not going to know the final version of myself, but I'm going to know characteristics, attributes of myself. Absolutely. And so to me, I don't see our living life as a control matrix. I do believe, though, I do subscribe to the idea that we've been captured for a very long time. I don't think it was always like that. And I don't think we were always in these bodies. I think it was different. And so I do believe that we are here to discover a certain version, we could say, maybe we could agree on that, a certain version of ourselves, because you can't exhaust that. It's the inexhaustible. You come from the inexhaustible and you are inexhaustible. Okay? And so I am standing on the ground of, we still are in an organic sense. Even though the world is captured, we are breaking out of that capture. And if you don't see the breaking out of the capture right now, open your eyes. We are in the midst of a great awakening. People know more now than they did before. I mean, you can't argue that. People know more now than they did just 5 years ago. Imagine how much more you know now. Say like you're 40 or 50 years old right now. How much more you know now compared to 10 years ago. You are awakening. You are a living example of the Great Awakening. And the whole point is when you clue into that you shine that light to others. And this is the organic sense. People wake up organically. They wake up on their own due to whatever circumstance they're in, and they become. Now, see, that's beautiful. They become whatever it is they're going to become. And see how much more beautiful that is, that random chaos that Alan just talked about, compared to the track idea. To where you incarnate and you're under this thought that everything's already planned. I already planned before I incarnated everything I would learn. Well, there's no organicness in that. There's no epiphany in that. It's already planned. And to me, that's inhumane. It's inhumane because I feel like the universe, I feel like us, we as a collective are organic. Organic. Yes, we got captured. That's part of the organic thing. Like, let's say this is an extreme example, but let's say like you go on vacation and one of your kids gets kidnapped. You didn't plan that. But one of your family members, let's say, gets kidnapped. And so you adjust and you adapt your life for what happened to you. That's organic. You meet someone that you fall in love with that you never intended. You never intended to fall in love with them. And you see them like when I met my wife on the quad in high school. I saw her and I fell in love with her. I don't know why. It just happened to me. And this is the way life is. It happens to people. And so it's important not to get onto this track, because then you put yourself on a track when you believe you are on a track. That's egregore behavior, where you've bought an idea and you've put yourself into that idea and you will not let yourself out of that idea. That's a trap. That's a trap. And so I don't subscribe to that. I think the world is free. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, King. My moderators are going to have different opinions than you guys. Come on. Where's the love? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You look and you see it. It's everywhere. Just open your eyes. It's everywhere. Chuck, besides being cattle, do you think we are in a simulation, as some are saying? I just tried to explain that simulations, matrix, that whole idea is a perspective idea. That's why you can break out of the matrix, because you're in an organic realm. You're not in a control system. Now, a control system, a group of people did put control systems into the planet that were not organic. They were man-derived or demon or Satan-derived, whatever you want to call it, however you want to end that, but they were evil-derived to tilt the world into most likely becoming an evil enterprise, like weighted dice. It doesn't necessarily mean that the die are always going to land on the area that they're supposed to be weighted. Sometimes they won't land on that weighted section, but most of the time they will. And to me, in my opinion, that's what happened when the earth was captured. Most of the directives of the earth are going to go in the way of this evil enterprise, but we still are in an organic matrix and there's still development. And so we took, as a human species, we took the hard path of materialism. Terence McKenna talks about this. We went into the sojourn of materialism, and that started around 7000 BC. We started into the sojourn of materialism. And the whole point of the last few kalpas has to exist within that materialism, to learn from it, grow from it, experience it, absolutely, but move past it. The collective is going to move past that. We are going to eventually become a star-faring species. That's where we're headed. And a star-faring species, where we are headed towards, is very, very different than a materialistic species like we are now. Here, set on the earth, we're not venturing out into space. We have been captured. And so to become a star-faring species, your whole ontology, your whole perspective of the world must change. It has to change into this other way. And that's why religion is dying. That's why these set belief systems are falling by the wayside, because the cultural collective is transcending, is moving past the laws, quote unquote, that we were raised in, the matrix that we were raised in. And yes, we were raised in a simulation, in the sense of you were told you were a fallen creature. You were told you were a chance happening from slime. You were told that there were no aliens and that we were all by ourselves in this huge universe. You were told that the earth was only like 4,000 years old. You were raised in lies. You were raised in a simulation. Who's responsible to get out of the simulation? You are. You're responsible. So if you want to grow up, if you want to leave the simulation as was imposed upon you, you must learn. You must grow. You must gather and develop knowledge, and that knowledge will free you. That's why I'm trying to free you from religion by exposing you to other belief systems, so you realize that your perspective of spirituality has been limited by the religion put into you, inculcated into you. And it was through fear, through shame, through peer pressure. You know, that's how you get sold on the idea of being in a matrix, and then you act as the egregore. You become the matrix. You make the matrix because you believe you're in a matrix. So I think it's a larger question, or a larger answer than you might think. Okay. We probably need to get going here. I got a few slides to go, and you guys are absolutely rocking. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that, sir. Okay, let's get started on tonight. Now, what I wanted to tell you guys starting off here, this is a great reference. If you guys want to check out some of the stuff that I've been writing and doing in my series, you can find details here. So go ahead and copy that address, or pause the video if I jump before you get it copied. And you can go there and you can read about a lot of the things that I'm talking about, just in a much more detailed way, because I just simply don't have the time. We would be on Rosicrucianism for 2 years if I did it the way that it's laid out, the long way. But that document right there, there's like 12, 13 parts to it. And man, it will give you the 3rd degree on Rosicrucianism. And then also, in addition, A lot of my work here in the Rosicrucian series is from this man, William Atkinson, who wrote the Kabbalion, if it's French, I'm not sure. But he wrote that book as well as the Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians. And so he was a gifted man who actually opened a lot of people's eyes to this deeper principle. And so tonight, then, finally, we are going to be covering the soul of the world and the universal androgyne. Now, I saw some people this week writing in Twitter, and there was someone who had never heard of this. Monopolypantheism, and my theory that we are in a monopolypantheism. So I'm going to take 2 slides to better explain that, so that as it comes up as we go along tonight, it will make sense. Now, we exist, in my opinion, in a monopolypantheism. Hermeticism teaches God is without any conditions, and so monotheistic, polytheistic, and pantheistic in one sense or another, because we live within the creative force, the power of a monotheism, right? So that is true. We live within the creative force, the power of a monotheism, a singular, the singularity. And then everything is imbued from this singularity, from this consciousness, with consciousness. So reality is a polytheism because this consciousness is in everything. And then if you want to take it a step further, all of these are true, by the way, you move into pantheism. The infinity of the universe can only be God. We are in the midst of a pantheism, meaning everything is God, because what cannot be God if the only thing that exists is God? Right? Mono, poly, pantheism. We are in all 3. You can consider every single one of those as true, but not final truth. They are a part of the truth. And then to elucidate it further, God is without any condition, and so monotheistic, polytheistic, and pantheistic in sense, we exist in a monopolypantheism, because monotheistic in the sense, there is a singular force that underlies, organizes, and manifests all things, so all is a force of God. Polytheistic in the sense that everything is a form or icon of God, so everything is to be revered as God, posing in one form, caricature, or another. So all is a form of God. That's also true. And then pantheistic, because nature is God. Is nature not God? Nature's God. The galaxy is God. Is the galaxy not God? Yes, galaxy's God also. The universe is God. Yep. All things are God, because what are all these things coming from? God. And nothing is past God. Is anything past God? No, nothing is past God. So all is in fact God. Does that make sense, y'all? You see why I came up with that? How that because all those are true. A singular force. Everything is a caricature, a costume of God. Everything actually is God. And all those are true. It just depends on your perspective. The higher your perspective, the more you will be able to move past even being in a monopolypantheism, realizing it's even past those concepts. You see, no words for it. Okay, and then finally, to reiterate the aphorisms of Rosicrucianism, there they are. I mentioned them last week. The one cause, the emanation of the many, the universal flame of life, the universal will to be, the 7 planes of consciousness, the law of cycles and reincarnation, and the 7-fold soul of man. Tonight, we will be covering the one cause and the emanation of the many, the universal androgyne. We will be going over that tonight. These aphorisms integrate with the 7 planets and the 7 cosmic hermetic principles, providing a comprehensive framework for spiritual evolution. That's you, my friend. You are evolving. Cosmic order. That's you, my friend. You are reordering. And practical application. Exactly. You are finding new ways to apply yourself to life in personal and societal transformation. The principles align with Rosicrucianism's esoteric mission to guide humanity towards enlightenment through hidden knowledge and patterns. How do we find knowledge? We find it through patterns. And tonight, you are going to see that in full career. So, introduction to the second aphorism. Now, we are going to be looking at the world soul, the anima mundi. And I consider the anima mundi as a differentiated consciousness ecosystem. So when infinity, which is where you come from, when infinity manifests, it goes through layers of manifestation in the same way you go through experiences in your life. And those experiences are layers and they affect you. They change you. When you have a catastrophic event happen in your life, it changes you. It alters you. That's why when you're 55, you are not the person that you were at 25. You are a totally different person. And that is because you have gone through layers of experience, typically layers of pain. And typically, as you get older, the pain gets worse. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes. And this is so you can learn from it. So the germ within the cosmic egg takes unto itself form. Monad self-organized, and I will show you guys the monad here in a minute. The flame is rekindled. Time begins. Action begins. And the pairs of opposites spring into being. A thing exists. The world soul is born and awakens into manifestation. This is spirit becoming matter, my friend. The first rays of the new cosmic day break over the horizon. This aphorism focuses on the world soul. That's the anima mundi. The first manifestation of the eternal parent, marking the transition from the unmanifest to the manifest state. Anima mundi is Latin for soul of the world. And I've note here on the middle there on the top, the metaphysical, the celestial, the physical. And this is the movement of that which is that, the eternality, the monad from the ethereal realm into the metaphysical realm, which is outside that circle right there. The density of spirit compresses into the celestial. Right there, you see it. The souls, which are between the material and the essence, the ether, moves through the celestial realm and is impacted by it. I'm about to talk about that. And that moves this individual. Finally, they incarnate into the material realm. And there is a process to this. It doesn't just happen. And these ancient people had gotten a very good clue on that. Now, as you guys know, last week we looked at the eternal parent, that which is that which cannot be put into words, that essence, that oneness, that is not dualism. It's all and nothing, right? It's an impossibility. That's where we come from. Our source, eternal source, is the eternal parent. That's why the Rosicrucians called it the eternal parent. It is the parent, the source of all things, and it compresses into the egg, the world soul, the germ within the egg. And this is part of the self-organizing aspect of the monad, and I'm about to show you that next. The world soul is symbolized by a circle with a white dot or point at its center. The black represents the infinite unmanifest, obviously. The white dot represents the focal point of manifestation, the germ within the cosmic egg, the singularity, the initial spark of the world soul. The term cosmic egg is a poetic expression used by ancient occultists to describe the embryonic state of the world soul. Now follow this. Just as you are the germ seed of your father's sperm and your mother's egg, so also the universe is a germ seed of the ether, the unspeakable, and the monad. And you guys are like, if you haven't seen my nature series, you're probably like, Chuck, what is a monad? This is a monad. This is from my nature series, the ether and the monad section. Monad, infinity and enigma, individuated consciousness that reunites. Monads are individuated consciousness in the same way matter is crystallized ether, just as nature is a caricature of God. Do you guys follow that? Layers. Everything is in layers. And it's as you move higher in vibration, you resonate with the layers as they increase in frequency. That increase in frequency is wisdom, is experience, is knowledge, love, compassion. These things grow and build over your life. Okay, complexify, self-organize. You self-organize. How do you self-organize? Learning from your mistakes. That's self-organizing. Changing your behavior. That's self-organizing. Becoming, raising your vibration. That is self-organizing. You see, you are just like the universe. And what happens here with the monad? They self-organize. The ether is the monadic medium. It is the receptacle of which Plato spoke, a place where things appear and perish. It is the vessel, the self-ordering processes of creation, which individualizes consciousness and reunites. And why are we here? Now think about this. Why are we here? We're here to have experience. What can we bring to the ether that the ether cannot bring, cannot have without us? Experience. The experience of time, the experience of relationship. There's no time and there's no relationship in the oneness, because you have to have two to have the relationship. There is no two. The eternal parent is one and many. It's all and nothing. Okay, so it doesn't fit into that tighter category, right? And so it becomes, when it manifests, when the ultimate reality manifests into time, into space, into the now, there's a separation that occurs. Both the same entity, both the same essentialness, but individuated. In other words, we are the same, we are identical in our core identity. Me and you are identical in our identity. We are one and the same, but we express differently. We have characteristics because our piece of the oneness is unique. And when it is exposed to the etherium, when it is exposed to the electromagnetics of the planets, of the system that we are in, it forms it into a particular kind of way. That's your personality. That's your characteristics. And that particular kind of way is influenced by the planets as you incarnate. The monads are what incarnate. Monads are to ether what ions are to plasma. Ether is liberated monads. Plasma is liberated ions. Do you see? All potentials of the entire essence that is no essence are contained within each monad. But each monad is unique. They're all the same identity. They're all the same thing. They're all God, quote unquote. But they all have different metaphysical costumes. Namely, the personality, the take. Like Jupiter has a personality. It's humongous. It has a particular kind of orbit because of its size. It attracts different types of fields because of its size. Saturn's the same way. These planets will be exposed to meteors and so on and so forth as they go through their existence, just like you will be exposed to meteors in your own life. And you attract those meteors, you attract those tough situations because of the way that you are. You see, and it's because the way the planets are that they attract what they attract in space. Everything is patterns. Everything is layers. It's just being expressed in different ways. That's why everything is God. It's just everything has different costumes of that consciousness. And everything is conscious. The rocks are conscious. The sky is conscious. You are conscious. The birds are conscious. Everything has consciousness in it. A bell has consciousness. How do you know it has consciousness? Ring it, and the consciousness comes right out. Everything has this in it. You see, so everything is a form, a piece, is God. And so that's because everything is coming out of the ether and the monad. And when it comes out, see, look here. Check it out. Now, when you incarnate, you come in from everywhere. Like there's no certain point that you come from. You coalesce like a creative idea in your head. Coalesces. It just happens. And all of a sudden, one day, you think, oh my goodness, what? And you got an idea. And that creative idea came from somewhere, but you don't know where. It just arrived. And you are the same exact way. You simply arrive. You concress. And that is what this on the right-hand side, this anima mundi, is showing you. It's the animal that is coming out, the materialism that is coming out of the non-polar, the non-entity. And here on this planet, with our solar system, the way that we are and the way that things are, that puts impression on the creatures that come out of this system. And this whole solar system is why you're here. The Earth needs all the other planets to maintain its perfect orbit and to protect it. All of it is it's one motor, it's one engine, it's one unit, and it peoples. Like Alan Watts said, the Earth peoples. It peoples. And it peoples because of the way it orbits, the way the electromagnetics are, the way the soul incarnates into material reality is a function of this system, this solar system that we're in. And so what they were doing here in ancient times is notice the pattern. You have the Birkeland currents of the nebula that's in the top left there. That's self-organizing. Those are becoming, and those little tiny dots you see all within and around the nebula are galaxies. That thing just below it. Self-organizing, becoming. And this is what it takes to incarnate you. It takes all of this. It takes the nebula. It takes the galaxy. It takes the black hole. It takes the Oort cloud. It takes all the planets. All of that is necessary for you. That's how incredible and important you are. All of these things work together to bring you about, to incarnate you. And so when you come into here, when you come in, as you can see, the anima mundi, these are the souls, these are consciousness. Outside, see the bodies? That's representing consciousness, forms of separate yet the same consciousness. And these impinge upon the celestial realm from the spiritual density that fills the universe. And the electromagnetism that is alive and active in our planetary system ignites the soul, and it passes through. There you can see the celestial realm, Celium, right there. You pass through it. You pass Saturn. You pass Jupiter. You pass Mars, then the sun, then Venus, then Mercury. These are energies. And then, of course, it's the moon, the undercurrent, the unknown that you come out of finally. And that's a burning process. Ignis, I-G-N-I-S, that's fire. You come in through fire and bitterness, A-E-R-I-S, that's bitterness. You come in through the flame of pain, the flame of transformation. That is where you come in. And you see here, as you pass through the solar system, the planets affect you. The electromagnetics affect you. This is what is forming you. This is what is forming you. The electromagnetics. They're all self-organizing, and they self-organize the soul as it comes in from the monads, from the ether. Density. Density. Remember this slide. Never forget this slide. Density. Spirit is density. Matter is the effect. We are the effect of spirit. Directly. And we manifest through this process. According to Rosicrucianism. That's why it's so important to study the celestial realm. Because the energies that were present on the day that you were born and while you were forming in your mother are the very energies that formed you, literally. At the base element, that resonance formed you. And it is from that you come. You see. And so that's why it's important to know your horoscope. It's important to know the planetary systems, what was affecting you, because that's how you learn who you are. That's how you get out of bad habits you can't break from, because you have a type of personality that tends to get into that bad habit. Let's say it's gambling. So you're naturally inclined to gamble, or alcohol. Your parents are alcoholics, let's say. And so you're naturally inclined to alcoholism. So one of the ways you can break out of that natural inclination, that harmonic resonance that you are privy to, that you are most likely to harmonize into, you can change that frequency by raising your frequency. You see, knowledge will raise your frequency. And as you become more aware, you empower yourself to leave inappropriate behavior. That's why the behavior changes as the mind changes. This is why it's important to know the planets that were affecting you when you were born, because, my friend, you carry that energy the rest of your life, the rest of your life. And until that energy expresses out, you will remain frustrated. I found out I was a Gemini not too long ago. I didn't know my entire life. Geminis are communicators. Geminis are communicators. They are here to communicate. They are here to equate the black and white. They are here to commune these things and bring these things together, not isolate and separate. Well, once I found out that I was a Gemini, I realized, holy smokes, then I have a lot of things to say. And I found out that I did. And I found out that what I had to say could help people. And so I began to express that aspect I was born with. And this is where my fulfillment comes from. That's why I put this note at the beginning of this section today, because this is what happens when someone finds their resonance. I get letters like this almost every week of people saying, I resonate with your work and it has changed me. Folks, that is the point. That is the point. And you will remain frustrated until you express your gift. You will remain frustrated. It is in you. It wants out. It wants to express the gift you have. We all have them. Every person has a gift. And it wants to come out of you. But it's not easy. You can't just sit down and do it. Like these talks that I give you guys every week, I spend 7 days on these talks. I work on them every single day for hours, every day. And I don't say that to guilt trip or anything like that, or try to get anything from you. I say that to say that commitment comes from within me. Nobody's holding a bat over my head making me do this. It's because I feel called to do it. And I get letters like that, which show me you are on the path, Chuck. You are on the path, meaning the path to fulfillment. The path to the telos, to the realization of your identity. And your identity, Chuck, is a communicator, a Gemini. So the more you fill your life with communicating, the more you fill your life with connecting things together, the more you remove conflict from your life, Chuck, the more freedom, the more happiness, the more fulfillment you will feel. Because nature is a merit system. It's a merit system. And nature has handed you a gift. And if you exercise that gift, nature will render her bounty to you. It can't be any other way. It's a merit system. The more you learn, the less fear you will experience. The more wisdom you acquire, the less control you will allow yourself to be under. It's a merit system. You merit freedom. You merit freedom. And if you are stuck believing an old religion, an old belief system, some crappy idea about yourself, you are not free. You are not free. That's why if you believe you're a sinner, you are not free. That's why if you believed you're a saved sinner, you are not free. You are in that category. You are under condition. And as long as you remain under condition, you will remain unsatisfied. Because your heart is not satisfied with religion. It's not satisfied with greed. It's not satisfied with accomplishment. It's satisfied with fulfillment. And the way you find fulfillment is expressing, engaging, practicing your gifts. And those gifts, my friend, are a direct response to the energies that formed you when you were an infant or a zygote in your mother's womb. You see, these things are important. The world soul is the first manifestation of the eternal parent, described as an elemental and universal soul clothed in the most tenuous form of elemental matter. It contains the potency, the latent possibility of all future universes within a cosmic cycle, a cosmic day. This concept is universal across ancient esoterica, known by various names. Now listen to this. Look at the connections you're going to find now. Anima mundi, life or soul of the world in some philosophies. The logos. How many of you, I did, grew up under the idea of the logos, the word of God, right? And this is also expressed in Heraclitus and Stoic philosophy. That's Hellenistic reason. Demiurge in Platon, that's the Christianity borrowed that idea. Demiurge in Platonic philosophy, a creative agent of God. You see, these are self-organizing aspects, energies that when you learn and develop your consciousness to understand them, you understand yourself better, more and more and more, because you are the inexhaustible. You can never exhaust more there is to learn about yourself in the world. The world's soul is likened to a gram within the cosmic egg, gradually growing in size and complexity and activity, taking on form and manifesting life. Okay, so this is what I wanted you to notice in this picture. You guys still here? Everybody good? We're all still here? All good? I'll go to comments here in a minute. Okay, now look, notice in this picture. Now this might throw you off a little bit. I'm going to clarify it for you. Look how there's a chain from the hand of God to the wrist of the human being, and then from the hand of the human to the wrist of nature. I believe that monkey, the spheres, the plant, all stuff is basically saying that the Christian is, or excuse me, the individual is in the world. But you see, folks, that's not bondage. Change do not mean bondage or rulership. They mean connectedness. Everything is linked. This is spiritual ecology and development in action. Okay, so what you are looking at in this picture is spiritual ecology. This is the field. This is the realm of development that comes out of the ether here. Right there, the eternal parent, the ether, okay? The singularity, the germ seed, the raw potential manifest is that. The anima mundi. Is there any limit to nature? No, it's raw potential. It goes forever. You're in the same way. And this is how spirit concresces with matter, conjoins, unites with matter. It's showing you. We are all linked. We are linked to the cosmic realm. Nature is linked to the cosmic realm. We, look at the light coming out of the breast of the angel there, the figure. We are light in the world, a light in the world, a light of consciousness. We shine our consciousness on the world, and we build the world into a much more complex space, do we not? Of course we do. That's why we're eventually going to be a star-faring species, because we complexify material matter. You don't see monkeys building empires and skyscrapers and crowning kings and queens. You don't see them doing that. That's our role. This is the beauty that we bring to the earth. And see, you guys, we all have been, have we not? Have we all been told that we tarnish the world? Haven't we been told that? That we cause the world to fall in Eden. This onus has been placed on you, and it is not natural. It causes dysfunction. That's why I wrote a book about it. It causes dysfunction when you do that, when you align yourself to smaller principles like that. Okay, continuing. The concept of the world soul. The cosmic egg is a widely revered symbol in ancient cosmologies, Greek, Egyptian, Persian, Syrian, Indian, and Christian traditions, representing origin of being. In Hinduism, Brahma, the swan of eternity, lays a golden egg symbolizing the universe. In Egyptian mythology, Seb and Ra are associated with the cosmic egg. In Greek Orphic mysteries, the egg was a sacred fertility, creation, and rebirth symbol. And in Christianity, Easter eggs signify the Trinity, salvation and resurrection. The concept of a universal soul with individual but not separate souls as its units, that's the monad, is a core belief in many ancient and modern philosophies, emphasizing the oneness and pattern of life. Life is a concrescence. It is a building together and expressions of awe. It has these moments of epiphany. And that's why you are here. You are to bring about and experience moments of epiphany, moments of awe and wonder, because the eternal parent cannot access those things without you. This is the nutty aspect of it. That's why you're here, to bring about experiences that the eternal parent cannot have outside of you. That's why you're so important. Your unique life, your unique parents, your unique family, your unique spheres of influence and ways that you influence others. Folks, only you can bring that. Only you can, like, I'm the only one who can bring these Saturday nights to you like this. I'm the only person in the world that's doing this exact thing. This is a unique experience for you that hopefully will encourage growth in you and to see the world more deeply. And this is why you're important. That's why your gifts are so important. If you're a musician and or maybe you're not a musician and you don't realize that you have that in you, and you pick up an instrument or something and start playing it, you will bring your beauty and gifts to the world. That's what instruments do. They bring beauty and love and compassion and wonder to the world, especially people who are really good at it. You see, and this is our role. We're to bring beauty and wonder and unbelievableness to the world, because that's what we are composed of. Beauty and unbelievableness and wonder. You see, it's all patterns. It's all patterns, and it's simply a matter of catching on to the pattern. Okay. Aphorisms. The eternal parent was wrapped in the sleep of the cosmic night. Light there was not, for the flame of spirit was not yet rekindled. Time there was not, for change had not begun. This is the eternal parent. Things were not, for form had not represented itself. Action there was not, for there were no things to act. The pairs of opposites there were not, for there were no things to manifest polarity. Duality, the illusion, because the eternal parent is not an illusion. What comes out of the eternal parent is an illusion of the eternal parent. Do you guys follow that? Do you guys follow that picture? What comes out of the eternal parent is illusion, right? It's illusion. Has to be illusion, because it's not the whole thing. It's a portion. It's an aspect. It is both, follow this, it is both the whole as well as the nothing. It's both. You got to get into these crazy ideas, because we are in an illusion. You see? And so, right here, where it says duality, the illusion, before there were no things to manifest polarity, duality, the illusion. And that is why you are an illusion, I am an illusion, nature is an illusion. It's an illusion of the eternal parent, just like your dreams are an illusion of you. Only you dream your dreams. Only you have the dreams that you have, right? And they are a version of you. And in the same way, we are the dream. We are the dream of the eternal parent. We are the dream of Brahma. This whole world, nature world, you, me, this is all a dream. It's an illusion. That's what makes it so beautiful. That doesn't take away its beauty, because it doesn't have a substantive form like the eternal parent has substance. That doesn't take away its beauty. Just like every sunset is beautiful in its own way. Each one has its own unique take on things. And so you'll never see the same sunset twice. And it's the same thing with you. You'll never meet you again. You are the one and only. That is why you are so important. And it is so important for you to work hard to bring out your gifts. It takes effort. It takes effort. Ask any writer how many books you had to write, how many things you had to write before you actually got kind of good at it. It takes years of writing, daily writing, and it comes out. Matthew Palomary talked about that in his book, Spirit Matters, how you must write and write and write and write and write, and then you'll kind of get good at it, and then start writing some more, and then you'll develop your proficiency. It's no different than learning an instrument. It's no different. You're going to be a better player 10 years from now than you are now. I don't care what you do about it if you're practicing. You will get better. You will get better. Okay, and so all of us are in this illusion. And so in order to fully experience that, to fully find fulfillment in that, you engage the illusion. You don't deny it. You don't kill your ego. You engage it, but you do it in a way that brings about appropriate behavior, that brings about the compassion and humanness inside of you and in others. Shine that light. You see, these aphorisms are speaking to that. The eternal parent, causeless, indivisible, changeless, infinite, rested in unconscious, dreamless sleep. Other than the eternal parent, there was not either real or apparent. The next aphorism, the germ within the cosmic egg takes unto itself form. This is what's happening. It's describing this right here. Takes unto itself form. The flame is rekindled. Time begins. A thing exists. Here we are. This is separation. Action begins. The pairs of opposites spring into being, because that's what happens when infinity comes into material matter. It springs into being. The world soul is born and awakens into manifestation. The first rays of the new cosmic day break over the horizon. And how does it break into being? Polarities, gender, vibration, mentalism, waves. Waves. That's how it comes into being. And look here. Here you can see compare and contrast, where we have above in the blue, we have the eternal parent. The flame of the spirit was not yet rekindled. And then we have the second aphorism, the flame is rekindled. The dark essence of the eternal parent bursts into the flame of the world's soul, initiating the new universe. Sounds a lot like the Big Bang, doesn't it? And then time begins. Time there was not. In fact, I'll mention this. I even met one time a Christian who believed in the Big Bang. It's not the Big Bang. The Big Bang came from nothing for no reason. Doesn't that describe the eternal parent? It's something and it's nothing. There's no reason for it, but there's infinite reasons for it. And so in many ways you can conceptualize, I'm not saying it's true, but you can conceptualize this bursting into being, this flame that ignited the entire universe as a base principle, really could have been how things came about. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that it's an interesting concept. And it really makes a lot of sense when you look at it from this Rosicrucian idea. A thing exists. The world soul is a thing, illusory or otherwise, with definable characteristics, unlike the unmanifest eternal parent. Action begins. See, action there was not there in the blue. That's the eternal parent. And then we have the androgyne, the universal androgyne. Action begins. The world soul is in constant activity from its inception, driven by motion and change. And the list continues. The pairs of opposites sprang into being. With thingness comes polarity, opposing qualities as differentiation begins. And this is how we have reality. The illusion of reality. This is how we have it. It manifests in these polarities, in the yin and yang. That's how it manifests. That's how you know nothing is missing and the universe is perfect just as it is, because nothing is missing. Everything is in place exactly how it should be, because it follows sacred geometry, right? Does it not? It follows sacred geometry. Where does sacred geometry come from? The ether. Nobody knows. It self-forms. You just simply do the math, and the universe follows that math. We are just catching on to what the universe is already doing, is already fully employed. And we found a number system. Ancients found a sacred number system that follows exactly the principles of nature, the principles of creation, the principles of self-organizing. Follows exactly sacred geometry. You are sacred geometry. Look at the way you're put together. Look at you. Your fingers, your wrist to your elbow to your shoulder. This is sacred geometry. This length right here from my shoulder to my finger is divided into 3 sections. Each one a third, or the math is what is it? 3 divided by 2 or something like that. But each one is a non-integer. It never ends. And you are measured to that. The trees grow the same way. The spirals of the galaxy, that's all sacred geometry. Black holes, that's all sacred geometry. You see, and this is how material matter manifests. This is how the ether manifests. The first rays of the new cosmic day break over the horizon. The world's soul marks the start of the cosmic day, continuing until the cosmic night returns. Do you see? We are trucking, dude. This is awesome. Unlike the eternal parent, which is unmanifest and beyond oh, sorry. You know what? Let me go to questions. I told you guys I'd go to questions. So let's see. I'm right there. Okay. Let's go to media assets. Sorry, comments. Here we are. Okay, I'm going to go to the end here where you guys are, holy smokes, you guys are trucking. This is awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. This is crazy. Yeah, Fibonacci sequences. You're exactly right. Thank you. Survive and thrive. Thank you. Fibonacci sequences composed of sacred geometry. Heck yeah. The golden mean. That's it. You got it. You guys are on it, man. You guys know. That's it. Tesla sacred geometry. Dennis the Menace. Heck yeah. I loved Dennis the Menace when I was a kid. Thank you, Philip. I like humor like that. To be, my friend. To be and grow. That's why you're here. You were near CERN. How interesting. Did you see anything interesting, Halo? You were right near CERN. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on. I'm just looking for anybody that's got any questions. You guys are talking about Willy Wonka. That's fantastic. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Here, it came from Gretchen. Thank you, Gretchen. We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams. You got it, man. You guys are so on it. You guys are on it. This chat room is amazing. Really, there's some amazing people in this chat room. This is incredible. I go to some of the chat rooms and some of the other live folks, and I mean, it's rough. It's rough. You guys, though, are really on it. You guys are really on it. Well, it looks like you don't got any questions. The Integra Natura image. I've posted a lot of image. Are you talking about the, here, I'll keep your question up. Are you talking about this? The Anima Mundi? The World of Illusions? Is that what you're talking about? Comments. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Wisdom. Thank you. I appreciate that, Linda. I appreciate that, Linda, very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. How to transcend the binary. Wisdom. Perspective. You transcend, I'm assuming the binary is the dualism world that we're in. The only way you're going to escape that dualism is by transcending it through pain and suffering, realizing that you are so much more than what the binary world has informed you. If all you know is what has come out of the binary world, this world of absolutes, the world of order, the world that doesn't have the chaos aspect, but it's just binary, it's a matrix. You see, you get past that by seeing it, by seeing that it is a binary, by seeing that the world is an illusion that will take away your anxiety, because you realize it's not it's a game. It's something that you engage and experience. You don't get caught up in it. It's something that you experience in giving yourself, in risking yourself in life. And you will naturally transcend as you become more and more grounded in the idea that you're a wonder, that you are in a wonder. And that wonder doesn't have a whole lot of absolutes and laws and so forth. It's a free space. It has some laws, it has absolutes. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying it's much more free than what you have been told. Because the whole point of the controllers is to keep you in control. And that means limiting your freedom, which means limiting your mind, because it's the mind that generates the change. And so if they capture your mind with a binary code, right there, they got you. You must escape that binary code. And there's no leader that is going to dig you out. You dig yourself out. You certainly can take advice and opinions of others, absolutely. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you have to do the work. It's like quitting an addiction. You can read great books, you can go to great support groups and all that stuff, and that's all wonderful. I encourage you to go to a great psychologist. I totally encourage it. But at the end of the day, you are the one who's going to have to not drink. You are the one who's going to have to not take the drugs. You're going to have to make that choice. And no one can do it for you. And you don't want anyone to do it for you, because that's how you take ownership of your life. You take ownership of your life by seizing that which is holding you down and changing your mind, changing your world, so that you become a better, more humane individual. You do that. And the only way you do it is through meriting, because we are in a meriting system. Self-responsibility. Absolutely. Yes, you do, Dennis. Yes, you do. Or Denise. Sorry, Denise. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. You're right, King. Yes. Yes, you step out of that. You choose to leave that by learning it. Do not ignore it. Do not run. You walk right into it and then walk past it. It's like walking past the guards at the gate that keep you out from the eternal vision. You walk past the gate. You walk past the guards. You do not bow to them. You do not prostrate yourself. You do not worship them. You walk past them. You are a higher resonant frequency being. See, this is good question, Lake. Thank you. Hey, Chuck, if the genetic manipulation in our human origins idea is correct, I think it is, how much of an impact does that play into our growth? Repurpose? Is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant, because they limited our awareness. You see, they cut down our brains to only be using about 5 to 7%. Geniuses use about 10% or less, 8%, it's 9%. Okay, so they removed the possibility. Like if I'm going to try and play a football game, but I'm on a field that's 20 yards by 20 yards, okay, I can still play some football, but I don't got the whole field. So I'm never going to know the whole game. I'm never going to know what all was there, because I'm limited to this field. And it's the same way. We are in a limited field as far as our brain is concerned. We need more brains to move our consciousness higher and higher. We can certainly reach an incredible level here. I get that. I'm not demeaning that, and I'm not saying that we're highly demoted. I'm saying, though, there are higher and higher layers that we simply cannot access because we have been so compromised in our DNA. It's of my opinion, and it's the opinion of Bruce Fenton that I mentioned earlier, that we were genetically altered. We were genetically altered. There was stuff taken out of us, raped from us, to make us into cattle, to make us into believers, to make us into people that obey. I don't think we were like that at one time. We were autonomous. We were very self-sufficient. And the controllers have come in and have just messed up that whole authenticity thing, that whole organic thing, and put control into it. Dumbed us down, literally with our brains, dumbed us down, and then stuck us into a caustic, toxic environment. Fed us poisonous, overprocessed foods, but even gave us like skin creams for not getting sunburn that actually give you cancer. Gives us medications that actually make us sick in other ways. They might cure or they might treat the one thing you went in for, but then the side effects are so bad you get another disease. We are in a caustic environment, and it's the same thing with spirituality. It's the same thing with consciousness. We have been fed poisons called religions. We have been fed menticides called belief systems. And these have poisoned us. And they limit, I don't know if you notice this, but the religion never wants you to leave it. It wants you to stay limited to what it says, to what it is convicted with, to what it believes, to what its book claims. The whole point of the religion is to hold your consciousness in check. That's why it's there. Keep you in check so you never think for yourself, ever. You always think from the group, from the leadership. You never take it upon yourself to risk and think for yourself and conclude for yourself. So yes, it has an enormously relevant aspect to it. And this great awakening right now is our beginning the process of reclimbing Mount Everest, where we were taken from. We are in base camp, and we are just now realizing we got some work to do. We got some climbing to do. We got some studying to do. We got some risks that we got to take. That's what the Great Awakening, this is the cataclysm that's happening right now. People are freaking out because the old world doesn't apply anymore. And so people are freaking out because their consciousness, their awareness has been limited by the systems inculcated into them. You see, and so this is the process of breaking free of that. It does, just don't smoke cigarettes to get the nicotine. There are other ways to get it. Yeah, we're all different. Exactly. Errant June. Yep. Some people open inwardly naturally. It's really true. You know, that reminds me of Alan Watts, who says in his testimony, he says that way back when he was a kid, he was already seeing through this whole thing. And he simply became a priest because that was, quote unquote, the thing to do. And he was wanting to pursue finding out more about it. But at the end of the day, he was already aware as a child that he was being forced into a system. I wish I had been like that. I wasn't like that. I didn't find out I was in a system until much later, till it was too late. But you're exactly right. Some people just wake up naturally. That's right, Raven. I stand my ground, and my ground is sacred. Absolutely. Everything is perspective. Everything is perspective. Yeah. Every source of good health is dirty now unless we do it. You are so right, Matt. That was how I beat cancer, was cleaning up my physiology. Detox. I mean, to me, that's like step one. That's like step one. Detox. You are sick because you are toxified. And it's the same thing with your mind. Your mind is sick if it's been toxified with religion and belief systems and has completely bought itself into that, given itself away. The person hands their brain to the catechism. And you don't want to do that. That makes you sick when you do that. Okay. Had a girl or boy beyond the illusion. Heck yeah. Woke up around 13. Catholic parents didn't take it too well. Yeah, my parents haven't taken it too well either. We still to this day haven't talked about it. Yeah, no religions at all, GMO or otherwise. Stay away from them. They make you sick. Yes, you're exactly right, Chaos. You're exactly right. Okay, let's continue. Okay, we had just finished that. Now we're going to here. Unlike the eternal parent, which is unmanifest and beyond qualities, the world soul is a thing characterized by form, activity, and polarity, marking the beginning of time, action, and the pairs of opposites, which is beautiful. The illusion of separation. It is not created from nothing or divided from the eternal parent, but exists as an idea or image in the infinite imagination, the overmind, akin to a dream. This is the dream. Our world, this is a good way to put it. Our world, our existence, you and me and all that you see, all the things, is the dream of God, is the dream of the eternal parent. That's a way to see this existence as beyond beautiful. You're the dream of God. You're the dream of God. How could it be more beautiful than that? You're the dream of God. You're the dream of the eternal parent. That's a beautiful concept. That is a beautiful concept. Beginning its active manifestation as the cosmic day dawns, setting the stage for further cosmic development described in the subsequent aphorisms. The world soul is not a disembodied soul, but is clothed in an ethereal substance finer than frog hair. I love that line, finer than frog hair. How fine is frog hair? Pretty fine. The ether of space from which it weaves bodies for all manifestations, from densifying spirit to the highest life forms. It is not created out of nothing or from the eternal parent substance, as division is impossible. You see? Division is an illusion. Dualism is an illusion. It's an illusion of the real. It's a dream of the real. Instead, it exists as an idea or dream in the infinite imagination of the eternal parent, a shadow of reality, a shadow that is no shadow. At the dawn of the cosmic day, the world's soul is like a dreamer awakening, unaware of its nature. That's you, my friend, unaware of your nature or its status as an idea of the eternal parent. There is instinctive urge to express itself, beginning active life, and that expressing itself comes through your arts and gifts, like I mentioned earlier. That's where that comes from. And think about it. There are many people that are still asking the question, and I even still ask the question, what is the meaning? What is the ultimate meaning and purpose of life here, as it posed right here, as you see right there? The world soul's like a dreamer awakening, unaware of its nature or its status as an idea of the eternal parent. And this is exactly why you can't, at the end of the day, absolutely know yourself or God. It will always be mysterious. You will never reach the end of that. You definitely will develop great concepts. And I think we've covered some here. You definitely will develop great pictures and see some amazing landscapes. No doubt. Absolutely. But it's inexhaustible. You are from the inexhaustible and you are the inexhaustible. You see, so there's no final. Does that make sense? And when you live like that, when you live in a world where you are under that kind of impression, you see, you won't try to grab it because you can't. You can't hold to it. You will release it. You will find that the more that you release, the more that you let go of the absolute you have in your mind, the more freedom you find. And isn't that common sense? The more I let go, the more freedom I realize. The more I release from the systems put into my head, the more freedom I will experience because my head is freeing. The bowl is emptying so that more information can come in. And when you live under the idea that you have it figured out, that you have the right religion, God, and so forth, your bowl is full. There's no more learning there. There's no more learning. If the bowl is filled with learning, you can't learn anymore if you think you got the answers and you're right. And you also will become revulsive to other people because you won't allow them to be who they're going to be. And that's a big mistake with a lot of parents, because parents, when they find out their daughter or their son has left the religion they've always known, you see there's a problem there. And there shouldn't be a problem there. These are just different expressions of the same thing. Yeah, heavy stuff. Philosophical contexts of the world's soul. Schopenhauer, that's him, posits a universal spirit driven by a will to live, a desire for phenomenal existence, creating intellect to serve its purposes. Some Buddhist philosophies also use the term, quote unquote, will to live to describe a similar universal spirit, obviously the Muladhara. Other philosophies describe a singular living nature expressing itself in all creatures, monotheism, with all things possessing some degree of God, polytheism, or actually God incarnated, pantheism. You see, it's all true. Is living nature expressing itself in all creatures? Yep. Well, that's a monotheism. Do all things possess some degree of God, of consciousness? Yep. That's polytheism. Are all things actually incarnated God, like God incarnated? Yep. Pantheism. A monopolypantheism is, in fact, the most efficacious term, as it honors multiple forms of the eternal parent without compromising the human experience of it. Can I read that again, please? A monopolypantheism is, in fact, the most efficacious term, as it honors multiple forms of the eternal parent without compromising the human experience of it. Because guess what? You are going to experience God as a monotheism, a polytheism, and a pantheism, your whole life. You will experience God in different ways because it's inexhaustible. So it's going to manifest in different ways, just like this illusion that we're in of dualism. The dualism manifests in different ways, different kinds of creatures, different kinds of male and female, different ways of expression of gender. This is natural and normal. This is the becoming of the eternal spirit, which has no form and comes into form. Okay, and that is absolutely beautiful. Reality Rosicrucians, excuse me, where are we? I just read. Unlike philosophies that equate the universal spirit with ultimate reality, Rosicrucians view the world soul as the first manifestation of the eternal parent, not infinite reality itself, polytheism. The world soul is not eternal. It appears and disappears because it's caught in the matrix of the illusion, the matrix of duality, which is a trap. And so in the incarnation of the world soul from the ether, you see, it's finite. It's finite. It has a time that it is present, and it has a time that it returns back into the dreamless state. And that's what you're seeing with this here, right-hand side. The world soul is a becoming. But you know what eventually is going to happen, folks? In a few million years, the sun is going to continue to grow, and it will eventually consume all these planets, and human beings will be no more in this ecosystem, in this spiritual ecosystem. And guess what? We'll be starfaring creatures by then, and we'll be no longer on the planet. That's why it's so important for us to become a starfaring species, so we continue our species. Our species lives on, because that's where we're headed. That's natural development. And so now you see it, now you don't is in play, because right now we're not a starfaring species. We're not traveling outside of the solar system. So we're not truly starfaring yet. But we will get there. We will get there. And it's a now you see it, now you don't. And this space that we're in right here, right now, that is not a starfaring species, we're not, now you don't is the process right now. And then it will be now you see it when we finally move into these other planets and then finally leave the Oort cloud and really do some interstellar travel. That's where we're headed. That is the ineffable inside of you expressing itself, growing and becoming and becoming and becoming. And what better way for a collective to realize the inexhaustible, begin to explore the universe. And you'll be exploring the inexhaustible. You cannot exhaust the universe. And that's where we're headed. That's why we feel naturally inclined to do that. That's why there's a natural inclination to expand off the planet and continue to develop off the planet, on other planets, and then outside the solar system. That is in you. That potential is in you. And that is what is in this, the world soul, that potential. And this is how that potential materializes. That's how it materializes. Let's see. The world soul is not eternal. It appears and disappears. Now you see it, now you don't, with the cosmic days and nights, unlike the eternal parent, which is eternal and unmanifest. Exactly. That should make complete sense to you. And now, one of my favorite moments in the evening, our put it in your pipe and smoke it moment. We're going to be spending our put it in your pipe and smoke it moment with Heraclitus tonight. So grab your pipes, cigars, and joints. Here we go. The logos is in Heraclitus philosophy, is the law of nature, giving order to the world, and in Stoicism, understanding through nature and reason. That's Stoicism. It is the active principle and universal productive cause. The Logos, the Word of God, principle of divine reason, is described as an illusory being, intermediate between God and the world, the first begotten of God, creating the world on God's behalf. That's why they got the idea of the demiurge. The demiurge in Platonic philosophy is a mysterious agent through which God creates the universe akin to a universal life force, or quote-unquote living nature. English philosopher Cudworth describes a plastic nature, a subordinate instrument under God that executes the orderly motion of matter, distinct from miraculous divine intervention. And here we go. Now's your pipe smoking moment. Cudworth argues that nature's slow, gradual process, and here's the tough one for everybody tonight, and occasional errors due to matter's resistance indicate a non-omnipotent pattern supporting the idea of a world soul-like entity. How can perfection, here's the tough questions for you tonight, how can perfection be known without also knowing mistake? Interesting. How can light be seen without darkness? Sure you guys can see that one a little easier. How can life be known without death? Again, I'm sure you guys can see that easier than that first one. How can perfection be known without also knowing mistake? Remember when Alan said at the beginning of the talk here that I started tonight that cats don't make a wrong move? Do you make a wrong move? Do I have it here listed? I don't. Do you make a wrong move? Which is a great question. Because think about this now. Think about this now. All of your worst decisions, all the mistakes you made did what for you? They taught you lessons. They taught you lessons you could not have learned otherwise. In that sense, then, it was necessary for you to make the mistake, commit the sin, as part and parcel to your development. So you can't see that as entirely negative. It actually brings to you resilience, brings to you an ability to continue on, like the burning salamander from our little picture here, top left, keeps you from giving up when you are facing it, from likely the poor decisions that you made in your life. And so you are on fire. You are in an untenable position, and you're in that untenable position because you made some poor choices. Were those actually mistakes, or were they necessary perfection? That's a tough question. It's the same as when you look at the yin yang, there's as much black as there is white, and there is a seed of black in the white just as there is a seed of white in the black. What's that seed of the black and the white? What is it? It's misbehavior. It's negative energy. The seed of negative energy is in the sea of white. So what is that telling you? That to have a holism, to have a perfect holism, dualistic nature, you must have mistakes. And the theory here is, and I'm not sure I buy this, but here's the theory. It indicates a non-omnipotent pattern supporting the idea of a world soul-like entity, a non-omnipotent pattern. But isn't it omnipotence that forms baby in mama's tummy? Isn't that omnipotence? Isn't that omnipotence that the planets have formed the way that they did so that we could have life on this planet? Just the right atmosphere, just the right temperature, just the right distance from the sun. Do you see? And eventually what's going to happen? The sun's going to consume us, is it not? It's going to consume this. Eventually, in a few billion years, it's going to eventually explode, become a black hole or a dwarf or a some type of what is it? Starts with an N and protons and neutrons. A neutron star, right? Eventually, it all goes to that. And so you have within the illusion of nature, you have imperfection as a part of the perfection, which means there's a side of it that's omniscient, and there's also a side that's not. Have you ever thought about that? In order to have a whole world, you see, and since we are caught in that reality, we make mistakes. But are they really mistakes at the end of the day? Is it really like what they're saying right here? That it's non-omnipotent. Can you hold this in your mind? That omnipotence has the mistake within it? Can you hold that in your mind at all? Because then if you can hold that in your mind, then you can see that every mistake you've made, everything that's befallen you has been to teach you, which means it's your asset. Remember how I said cancer became a friend to me, even though it was killing me, because it became my greatest teacher. The death within it is what taught me. Well, death is the black, right? But the experience I had with cancer was perfect because it awakened me. It awakened me. So the perfection was in place while I was suffering. This is why, take this out with you. This is why praying to release your suffering, to have God take away your suffering, you might be praying to not learn the lesson when you pray that. And I know I'm getting into some real extreme cases here, though, but I'm just wanting to show you there's a lot of different ways of taking this world apart. And with some of these different perspectives and seeing your imperfection as perfection is critical to your realizing a higher and higher frequency of resonation and not confining it to just, in this case, an omnipotent world, but realizing that there is non-omnipotence within the omnipotence, because we're in a wonder, we're in a Rubik's Cube. This kind of higher level thinking, again, will help release you from anxiety, because then you'll realize when you're in the anxious state, when you are suffering, that you are in the pocket. And if you want to get out of that pocket, you will have to work for it. And you will realize a higher consciousness if you leave that pocket. But the event itself doesn't need forgiveness, because it is how you're going to learn. It's how you are going to become. We are getting into pretty extreme positions here, but I just wanted you guys to know that is another way of taking this apart. And that's why I called it a put it in your pipe and smoke it moment, because it's tackling subject matter that will help you realize the profundity that you're in. How much of a profundity is it if there is non-omniscience within the omniscience that composes the omniscience, meaning it's both, it's the black and the white makes the omniscience. Higher level thinking, moving past it so that we release from anxiety. These are different forms of consciousness. Superconsciousness refers to a transcendent state of awareness that goes beyond ordinary human consciousness. It is often described as a heightened, unified state of being where the individual self merges with or perceives a universal, cosmic, or divine reality. In spiritual traditions, it's associated with enlightenment, self-realization, or union with the absolute. Undifferentiated consciousness refers to a state of awareness that is non-dual and lacks distinctions or separations. You can see the levels here we're going to, such as a subject-object or self-other. It is the pure, formless essence of consciousness before it is shaped by perception, thought, or individuality. In Vedanta, this is often equated with pure awareness or the self, the Atman, that underlies all experience. That's a Hindu term, that Atman. The differentiated consciousness refers to the ordinary, everyday state of awareness, where the mind perceives distinctions such as self versus other, subject versus object, internal versus external, or now you see it, now you don't. This is the typical waking state of human consciousness, shaped by our sensory input, thoughts, emotions, and the ego. And what I wanted you to see here is there are 3 levels. There's a differentiated consciousness that's fairly easy to be in and see. Then there's undifferentiated consciousness, which you realize in the state of meditation. And then there's a super consciousness, which you can't know. It's beyond knowing. And that's why your identity is super consciousness, God is super consciousness, because you can never ultimately finally know it. You can know portions of it, you can understand aspects of it, but you will never exhaust it, because it is the inexhaustible. And becoming familiar with the fact that there are these different states of consciousness will help usher you into a larger reality than the one you're in right now. And here's a little map I made for you guys. And by the way, if any of you guys want these slides, if any of y'all want these slides, I'll send them to you free. Just write me after the presentation's over at contact Chuck Jr., and Jr. is JR, contact Chuck Jr. at yahoo.com. And just say, hey, Chuck, I want the slides from tonight's episode, and I'll send them to you free. I'll send you a PDF of them, and you can meditate on them and check them out. So this is just a little map I made for you guys that helps you understand perspective of these different consciousness and the perspective from these different layers of existence: nature, experience, duality, context, relation to ego, example, state. And these match up in how these manifest in superconsciousness, undifferentiated consciousness, and differentiated consciousness. And this just helps you see in your mind's eye a little larger picture than maybe what you had before. And I think this kind of stuff is extremely helpful. While I'm at that, let's go to comments real quick and see how everybody is doing. Yeah, it's from the idea of missing the mark, but can you miss the mark when you're in an infinity? It's like saying, where is, hang on, let me get this off of here. It's like saying, where's the comment again? Here. Yeah, it's sin is part and parcel. Missing the mark, which is officially what sin means. Missing the mark is a part of life, which is why the church used that, because they knew every single person would, quote unquote, make mistakes or sin. Right? And so it's from the word sign. And I talked about that in my nature series, Sin is Sign. And it basically is just saying that it was twisted out from this idea of missing the mark, which is a natural life occurrence, into some type of eternal purgatory that you're going to have to face if you sin. So it's all it's all an illusion. The whole idea of sin, the whole idea of missing the mark and having to be forgiven for it is lower consciousness thinking. Because misbehavior is how I learn appropriate behavior. I learn the hard way. That's how we all learn. We learn the hard way, right? And so how do you learn the hard way? You make mistakes. And that's all part of the quote unquote golden ratio that is your life, that builds your life. And it's important. I am concerned. Linda, is that to me or is that to someone else? But if that's someone in the section here, great. If it's for me, awesome. Thank you. Oh, here we are. Thanks for this question, Thomas. Thomas Chase. I remember you from last week. Welcome back. What is the basis of your cosmos? NASA, Big Bang, or creation, and why? Yeah, I don't subscribe to the idea of God as a carpenter. That's too simplistic. There is an etheric development that happens naturally in the universe, and we see it with sacred geometry. We see it with the self-forming of planetary systems. I mean, when you see the collapse of the black hole, and that it explodes all kinds of particles out of it, or a neutron star explodes all kinds of particles out of it. And what happens again? They then reform again and magically spiral into being all over again. And this, to me, is much more conducive to the idea of a wonder that is developing. It's not a wonder developing when you think of something mechanical, like the universe is mechanical, and that it's created. And so you have a God that's coming along and is creating all these individual things. To me, that's too simplistic, and it dumbs down the whole cosmology. The idea that it manifests of itself, so that it manifests out from the ether simply because the potential is in there, and how it manifests is through sacred geometry. These are magical properties. These are magical ideas. And to me, the universe comes about in a much more magical way than a mechanical way. And so, to be honest with you, I don't subscribe to Big Bang or creation. I subscribe to the idea that it is self-becoming. The universe is of itself so. There is no beginning. There is no ending. And if there are beginnings and endings, they are outside the conscious. They are outside of my, now you see it, now you don't consciousness. It's past that. And so I don't subscribe to any one particular cosmology, because there's no way the way all this came about can be described in words. In the same way, there's no way that mama can describe to you in words the baby that she just gave birth to. There's no words for that. It came out of her, and we come out of the universe in the same way. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. How did the sperm and the egg know? First of all, how did the sperm know to go to the egg and try to get into the egg, and then finally get into the egg? And then how does that zygote then know how to develop? This is magic. This is wonder. You can't bust that down into science. You can't break that down into science any more than you can break nature down into science. You can certainly have properties of nature within the scientific realm, just like you. Absolutely. But that's not the end-all be-all, any more than a religion that tells you about spirit is the end-all be-all. No, it's just a particular opinion about it. And science is the same way with nature. It's an opinion about nature. It's not the end-all be-all. Heck, I mean, science is doing everything it can to remove the idea of any kind of omniscience within space. It's trying to remove the idea of ultimate reality or God. I mean, it works hard to remove these things from you and works to make you a fool by believing that there is a God. I mean, ask a hardcore excuse me, ask a hardcore university instructor who teaches natural evolution about God. They will bend over backwards to remove God. And right there, you can see the anxiety. They're not in the peaceful state because they're working so hard to remove something from this state of wonder. And my approach is you approach the state of wonder by observing what's coming out of it, what's coming off of this thing. And what I observe coming off of this thing called God, is miracles, constant miracles. I mean, look at the planetary system, look at the galaxy, look at the universe. It's a miracle. Look at you, your complexities, your personality, your characteristics, how you came about. It's a miracle. It's all miracles. It's all magic and miracles. And so I think to define where all this came from finally is to confine where all this came from. It's like judging a book by its cover. You know, you're going to know a few things, but you're not going to know the vast majority of what's in that book. You know, and if you look at reality, if you look at nature, it's not going to fit finally into any more one beginning or one ending any more than a religion will. Because a religion is going to give you one beginning and one ending, and it's going to tell you the whole processy. A lot of them do. And it's just another opinion. But we're in a miracle. We're in a wonder. And so it's past finite beginnings like that. I don't think the universe has a finite beginning, just like I don't think it has a finite ending. It is an expanding consciousness. It is past the world of materialism. It is past the world of illusion. Here we go. We all have to learn the hard way, Chaos. Without suffrage, is anything cataloged internally? Like the Akashic field? Without understanding and building awareness and understanding of dualism, how can we ever understand the idea of oneness? Yeah, I mean, they go together. They go together. Like, in order to have a top, you have to have a bottom. In order to have an in, you have to have an out. And in order to understand the idea of oneness, you have to have dualism, the opposite. I mean, think about it. In order for you to know good, you have to know bad. In order for you to see light, there has to be darkness. So why would all of creation not have just as much darkness in it as light in it? All of those things are within the oneness. But in order for us to know what oneness is, you have to have this reality. And then you'll know it. But if all of us were just in the sense of oneness, well, then there would be no us. You wouldn't know anything about the separated world. It wouldn't make any sense to you. And there wouldn't even be a you because there's no separation. It gets kind of funny when you start thinking about that stuff. Yep, that's part of it. Pain is part of life. Yeah, it's for us. Exactly. I agree with that. It's for us. Love, exactly. Love is the only foundation. I completely 100% agree with you. Yes, I agree with you completely, Missy. I completely agree with you, love. Yeah. Yes. Yes. You can't. It's impossible to understand. You can. It's an apophatic approach. You define God by what God is not. Not this, not that. Neti neti. That comes out of Sanskrit. God is not this. God is not that. God is not is. There's no. And yeah. It's mystical. Yes, they have, Chaos. They have misled us. I completely agree with you. Yes. Density. Remember I said earlier, Netta, I mentioned density. The spiritual world is a dense world, and all of what you see in the universe is density. It's density. Yeah, potential. Yes, I agree with you, Chaos. The pyramids do tell us a much deeper past than we are told. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, 9mm. Thank you for your input. Appreciate that very much. Very true. Thank you. Have some humility about it. Exactly. Stop trying to finally define it and just enjoy the perspectives. Seriously, what better way to... It's like art. When I go to the Louvre in France, in Paris, do I go to look at one painting? Do I go to find one room and then leave? No, man. No, I'm going to go through the entire museum. I'm going to see every single piece of art, because all of these are expressions of the one. And this is why so it is so obvious, plain as day, that a religion is not going to get you there. It can't. By objective reasoning, it cannot get you there, because at the end of the day, its importance is itself. It wants you to believe it. The Bible is not open for suggestions. It is telling you. The Quran is telling you. These things are not open for discussion. No. They're there to tell you. And what does that say right on the face then? What does that tell you right on the face of it? Right on the face. I, meaning the religion, can only get you so far. The religion can only get you so far. And most likely, if you subscribe to Western religion, you're going to be stuck in a sin and atonement conflict matrix. And it's not going to let you out of that, because you're a sinner till the day you die. It's not going to let you out. Religions do not want you to think for yourself, do not encourage free thinking, do not ask you questions. They tell you. And anytime you got someone in your life, some book or anything or whatever, that comes around and says, I'm right, I got it figured out, like the pastor on Sunday morning, I got the eternity figured out, I got God figured out, I got you figured out, you're a sinner, I got it figured out. And I got it figured out, meaning the pastor got it figured out, because the seminary told him. And what does the seminary say? We got it figured out. And we're going to tell you guys, and we're going to train you guys how we've gotten it all figured out. That's an asylum. That's an asylum. A spiritual asylum. And they teach narcissism there, because every single one of those religious people think that they're right, think they got it all figured out. They got the right God. They got the right belief system. They got the right eternity. Man, they've got it all figured out. And it's because they're all narcissists. They're all narcissists. Yes. Johnny Ballgame. Yes, I like that name, Johnny Ballgame. Yes, the Great Awakening. Yes. Boom, Neda. Boom. Opium for the masses. What is relief? What is relief? Spiritual opium. Spiritual opium. Relief will lock you down into the sin and atonement matrix until the day you die. Because what does the Christian feel every time they think their sins have been forgiven? Relief. And it addicts them, because relief feels so good. My dad's sister Lucy once told my dad the greatest feeling she ever feels in the world ever is relief. And that's where I got the idea that relief is a drug, because my dad told me that story years and years ago. I'm not condemning Aunt Lucy or anything like that. That's what she thought. But that's where I got the idea. And I remember I was at lunch with him when he told me that, and I got home. This was in my early 40s when I was about to leave the church. And I thought to myself, you know, for Lucy to say that, that's quite a statement. That sounds like a drug. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized it is a drug. Relief from sin is a drug. Think of how good you feel as a Christian every time you feel like your sins have been forgiven. You feel incredible. It's a drug. It's a drug. I wrote a whole thing on that in my book. Yeah. Yeah, this killing in the name of God. Yeah, that I touched on that in the egregore for sure. And that's when McKenna said, you know that social institutions are not your friend when they give you some weapons and some training and send you across the ocean to go kill strangers in the name of their God. There you go. That's how you know cultures are not your friend. Religion is not your friend. Religion is not your friend. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue on what we're doing. We're trucking right along. This is awesome. We're trucking right along. Okay. So, introduction to the third aphorism. This is the third one. The one became two. The neuter became hermaphrodite. Male and female. The two in one evolved from the neuter, and the work of generation began. This aphorism forms on the world's soul as an androgynous universal being. That simply means, androgynous simply means it has male and female characteristics. It's not talking about male and female sex organs on one person. This is a metaphor. Folks, you need to understand that. This is not blasphemy. This is a metaphor. And what it is basically saying is there is a female and male energy in all energies. The world is an androgyne. It's an androgyne in the sense that it has male characteristics and it has female characteristics. That's exactly what it is saying to you. That's what the Rosicrucianists are communicating to you. Because if you look at the rebus right there, it includes the planets, dragon is nature, there's the earth, there's sacred geometry, there's the wings of spirit. You see the measures of nature, the sun, the moon, the Mercury, the communicator of nature. See, it's all together right there as male and female, the universal androgyne. And look at the shape that's there, the egg, the cosmic egg. And this is saying that in the cosmic egg are all potentials. And that's what the rebus is showing you. All potentials are in the consciousness. And the consciousness shaped as the universal egg is a way to understand it. So you realize potential is contained within the blackness, within the non-entity. There's potential there. You just can't see it. And when it manifests as androgynous, as the rebus. And that's why the rebus is so important in Rosicrucianism, because everything is androgyne. We got an awesome myth I'm going to tell you guys about here in one sec. Okay, the concept of the androgynous universe being as what is widespread. It's not, see, this isn't unique to Rosicrucianism. In ancient esoteric philosophies, Greek, India, Atlantis, Persia, Chaldea, and was central to the ancient mysteries. Remember, those came out of ancient Atlantean teachings long before our form here and now was around. We were in another form at that time. In its highest form, it elevated the dignity of each gender, but in degraded forms, it led to phallic worship, namely Satanism. There's you see one of the falls. It led to phallic worship, which Rosicrucians reject. The Rosicrucians use the hermaphrodite symbol as a core symbology, maintaining its true, non-debased meaning. And what do you see when you see what? I've got to think of the name of that idol. Baphomet. What do you see when you see Baphomet? The androgyne. But what have they done with that concept? They've turned it into a worship of materialism, worship of the sensorial realm. They've pornographied it. And that's how you take this androgyne situation and you blaspheme it by turning it into an idol. Hermaphrodite, an individual with attributes of both male and female, derived from the Greek names Hermes and Aphrodite, referencing the myth of Hermaphroditus uniting with the nymph Salmacis. And I'm going to read that to you right away. And an androgyne, an individual possessing both male and female attributes, derived from the Greek word andros and gyne, meaning woman. And don't you, folks, don't you have male and female qualities in you no matter what your gender is? You certainly do. You have male and female quality. You have action. You have the unconscious mind. That's action is male. The unconscious mind is female. You have these within you, and you just go down the line of examples of this energy, this androgynous energy that you have within you. And so we're going to read the story to better understand this of the myth of Hermaphroditus uniting with Salmacis. Now, this is where the term hermaphrodite comes from. It comes from this Greek mythological story that directly deals with the androgyne. Okay. The myth of Hermaphroditus uniting with the nymph Salmacis is a tale from Greek mythology primarily known through the Roman poet Ovid's Metamorphosis, which provides the most detailed account. This myth explains the origin of the term hermaphrodite and is significant in the context of alchemical and Rosicrucian symbolism, particularly as referenced in the secret doctrine of Rosicrucians, which I showed you guys at the beginning of the video. where hermaphroditus symbolizes the androgyne principle of uniting masculine and feminine elements. As we now know, the Azoth mandala embodies the concept of the androgyne, and that's that circular symbol here. Okay, that's a symbol for the androgyne. Hermaphroditus, the child of Hermes, the messenger god, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was a strikingly beautiful young man. And there you can see Hermes there on the left. Notice he's holding the bowl of water. That's knowledge. He's a brilliant man. Notice he's got a wreath of nature on his head. He represents nature. And then you have Aphrodite there on the right. She has the cherub of love in her lap, right? She has nature on her head. You see, and then you see down there, the bottom right, you can see Hermaphroditus there on the left. He's the male figure. And then the female figure, they're attacking him. And you're going to find out what happens here. Watch this. He was a strikingly beautiful young man, embodying traits of both parents, intellect and eloquence from his father, Hermes, and beauty and charm from his mother, Aphrodite. At age 15, notice just before puberty, that has meaning. At age 15, Hermaphroditus wandered from his home on Mount Ida to explore Asia Minor. He arrived at a clear, inviting pool in Caria near Halicarnassus, known as the Fountain of Salmacis. Now watch what happens. Salmacis, a water nymph who presided over the pool, was unlike her sisters, who were skilled in hunting and weaving. She preferred to linger in vanity and idleness by her pool, adorning herself with pleasantries and basking in the cool waters. When she saw Hermaphroditus, she was consumed with desire and attempted to seduce him. She approached him with flattery, declaring her love, but Hermaphroditus, shy and uninterested, rejected her advances and asked to be left alone. And in case you don't know what a nymph is, in Greek mythology, a nymph is a female nature spirit, a minor deity associated with a particular natural feature, such as a tree, spring, pool, river, or mountain. They are considered the personification of nature's beauty and preservation. Okay. So Hermaphroditus makes his way down to the pool, and there she is waiting to get him. Undeterred, Salmacis hid among the trees and watched as Hermaphroditus, believing himself alone, declothed and entered the pool to bathe. Seized by his beauty, Salmacis sprang from her hiding place, entwined herself around him, and forcibly merged with him. This is when life takes you by the throat and throws you down, despite his struggles. That's what this is emphasizing. She prayed to the gods that they would never be separated, and her prayer was granted in a unique way. Their bodies fused into a single being, neither wholly male nor female, but both a hermaphrodite. The resulting being retained Hermaphroditus' name, but combined features of both with a dual nature. Distraught at his transformation, Hermaphroditus prayed to his parents Hermes and Aphrodite that anyone who bathed in the pool of Salmacis would suffer a similar fate. The gods granted this request, cursing the pool, so that any male who entered would emerge feminized, effeminate with male and female traits. The myth concludes with an explanation for the pool's reputed power to enervate, exhaust, and soften those who bathed in it. This points to the exhaustive life. This is critical here, folks. This is where it's pointing towards. This points to the exhaustive life of the awakened one that they experience. The resistance of the mind to merge. Do you remember that when you were breaking out, the resistance of your mind to merge? That's exactly what Hermaphroditus was doing. He was resisting the mind to merge. And the transforming effect of entering into the water is a solvent. And what this is saying right here is that there are consequences to this. When you awaken and you realize these other characteristics in the world, it's going to change you. And that's going to create resistance when that great awakening, when that change impinges on your life. and it encourages you. You're going to have to change the way you're thinking. You're going to have to change the way you're behaving if you're going to want to get through this. It seizes you. Life seizes you in that moment. And either you change or you're stuck there. And the myth is showing that there are consequences. And some of the consequences that you experience in your life, you're never free of. And so she intertwined with him. Salmacis intertwined that he couldn't escape. And this is like that bad decision that you made that follows you the rest of your life. You will have to adapt to it so that you can learn from it, or it will become your master. You must learn from your mistakes, or your mistakes will become your master. What's your master? Regret. And if you live with regret, then you will be under the regretful master, and you will not get past what has happened. And so there are many teachings in this myth, but that is one of them. Engaging in the Great Awakening is dangerous. It's going to change you. When you walk into the pool of knowledge, when you walk into the pool of change, guess what? Water's a solvent. It will dissolve you. And what do we know about nature? It's merciless. The water is going to dissolve you, period. You're not going to get out of it. So be careful. When you engage this stuff, this Great Awakening stuff, it's going to change you. It's going to affect your relationships. And that's unavoidable. That's unavoidable because we've been raised in lies. And when you've made all your decisions based on lies, when you are told the truth, guess what? Your life collapses because you've built it on lies. Did Hermaphroditus intend to get attacked by her? No, but he did. He went in the water. There are consequences. There are consequences to life. And sometimes you can't see what that consequence is. And you still have to live with it. And notice his response. Asked his parents to curse the lake. Do you see how that's immature? Asking the lake to be a curse so that when other people go in there, they get the same disease I got. That's a person who hasn't transcended. They're still in the life of resisting and denial. And the only way Hermaphroditus is going to be able to grow because of his situation now is if he accepts the fact, well, I've got male and female characteristics now. Just like the person who awakens, well, I've awakened now. I can't unsee what I've seen. So I've got to live my life the way that it is because I'm not going to deny what I've seen. I'm going to live with the consequences. And some of those consequences are going to be harsh. You're going to lose your friendships. You're going to lose your family. There are consequences to becoming the hermaphrodite, the one that has all the opinions in their head and they're not buying into any one of them. Not buying into any one of them, but using them all as measures to better express their life, to better live their life, to better know themselves and know the world. And these are aspects that are available to the person that makes themselves available. If you don't make yourself available by going into the pool, guess what? You're not going to change. And that's what this myth is telling you. It's not safe. Nature is not safe. Hermaphroditus thought he was safe. He wasn't safe. Nobody's safe. You are in an enigma. And the sooner you coalesce with that and accept the changes that happen in your life, accept the confrontations that you have to deal with, until you accept them, you remain a slave to them. The people that can make you angry are the ones that control you. If someone can make you angry, they are controlling you. And so it's the person that isn't clinging, that isn't clutching, that's going to be a lot harder to offend because they're not clinging to anything. They're in the free state. And so they actually find glory. They actually find wonder in hearing other people's opinions. No matter how much they are against their own opinion, it's beautiful to hear these other opinions. It happens to me every single Saturday night when I do this, when I go into chat and I talk to you guys. People bring up stuff all the time. And I'm like, wow, that's a great concept. That's awesome. You have to be willing to walk into those spaces. And if you're underneath a rigor, a spiritual rigor, that isn't asking your permission, that isn't asking for your opinion, guess what? You're going to think like the rigor. You're going to behave like the rigor. You're going to become the rigor. And so this story teaches you there are consequences for inawareness. There are consequences. And some of them you may not recover from. Hermaphroditus never freed from it. He was a hermaphrodite till it was all over. And that's the way life is. And this is how we learn. This is how we grow. Mythological context. The merging of Hermaphroditus, male, associated with Hermes' intellect and shrewdness, and Salmacis, female, tied to Aphrodite's sensuality and water's change, creates a being that transcends gender. This is the benefit of what happened, embodying both masculine and feminine qualities. Isn't that what you want? You don't want all of one quality or the other. You want both. That's called being balanced. This reflects the alchemical principle of conjunction, where opposites, sulfur male, Mercury female, unite to form the rebus, the androgynous figure central to Rosicrucianism. Hermaphroditus' unwilling transformation represents a sacrifice of individual identity. This is it. This is what you're doing right now, folks. You're sacrificing your individual identity for a greater unity, though it causes distress. And every one of you I know is under distress because you're in the Great Awakening. His curse on the pool Salmacis reflects a desire to share this transformative burden, symbolizing the cost of enlightenment. Do you see? Beautiful, isn't it? Right on. You guys got any questions before we finish up here? We just got a few more slides to go. I'll go to comments and see if you guys got any questions. Okay. Any questions? This is a key one here. I thought about this today, Chaos. A man who has nothing, you can almost not reach that individual, scare or put that person into fear because they're holding to nothing. They've lost everything. And so they are truly free in one sense or another because they're no longer holding to anything because they've lost it all. That's why going through the process of impoverishment and coming back, or going through a really bad disease where you're bedridden for years and coming back, that's the value of that. Because when you're in that state, when you've lost everything, you then are able to integrate a new idea, a new concept into your life, because it's your old concept that got you into the predicament that you were in. My favorite composer, Bach. I love Bach. Love him. Love him to death. I actually bought a collection years ago. This was probably 25 years ago. I bought a collection of all his cantatas, all 200, and I think it was about 220 of them that had been recorded. I bought all his cantatas and I listened to them for years nonstop. But yeah, I love Bach. His Christmas oratorio is beyond incredible. And then some of his cantatas, his choir work is, 5-part harmonies, dude. It's just incredible. It's incredible. That's one, I'll tell you a secret. That's one thing that I want to do, is to play Bach. And I can't do that with drums. And so I need to learn to play guitar. And so that's one of the things that that motivates me to take on that instrument. Do I think that we have had thousands of advanced societies that have collapsed and started over? I don't know about thousands, but it's possible. I'm totally open to that. I'm open to the idea that the Earth is, a couple million years old, and I'm open to the idea that the Earth is a couple of billion years old. I'm totally open to either one. And if it's billions of years, then yes, there would have been thousands of advanced societies. But I do strongly subscribe to the idea that there have been advanced societies, a number of them, not just one, but a number of them. And I do think this planet is very valuable. And I think that there are extraterrestrials that want ownership of this planet. And I think that's why it was taken over. I think there were battles fought over this planet because of not only its beauty, but because of its position in the universe. There are many portals in this area. There are many wormholes in this area. And so the Earth is a lot like a way station. In my opinion, that's how they set up the trade system, so that since the Earth is a farm, I believe there was interstellar trade with human bodies. I do. I believe that that the Earth was in many ways a way station for many, many years, maybe thousands of years. And basically, people were farmed and then processed and then sold to the international or to the interstellar market. I do. I subscribe to the idea. I'm happy wrong. I might be totally wrong. It might be a total bogus thing. It's not true. But I do think it went that far. I think that we literally were being harvested. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have these situations on the planet where it seems like everyone was wiped off the planet, like there was a mass harvest. Like there was a mass harvest of all the people. And I still, one of the things I want to talk to Jason with Archaics about, at Archaics, whatever his thing is, I want to ask him about are orphans. I want to understand the whole orphan thing that went down around the turn of the 20th century. When you had Russian mobsters, Nazi mobsters that were running orphanages. Mengele ran an orphanage. Why are all of these psychopathic doctors that are testing people and torturing people and destroying people, why do they have orphanages? Why did the Bolsheviks have orphanages at the turn of the 20th century? Orphanages. Why do these army leaders have the orphanage? What is the deal with that? Why are there so many pictures of all these children, not ancient, but a few hundred years old children from like the 19th century, and they're barefoot on top of industrial equipment? What is that about? I want to understand better. Orphan trains, yes. Yes, I want to understand that better. See, I reached out to him, Donna Marie. I've reached out to him, and he hasn't responded. He actually had a video. I had someone email me a video, and he actually mentioned me that he wanted to get together with me. And so I'm kind of like, why aren't you responding? I sent him a direct message. So I'm hoping to hear back from him. I think it'd be a great conversation, and that's where I'm going. Yes. I mean, look at the Catholic Church. It's a collection agency. It collects your money and it collects your children. Remember back in the day when parents would literally just turn their kids over to the priest? Remember that? And I found out the other day, I didn't know this, but was it Muhammad in the Quran? One of the major figures in the Quran, I don't know if it was Muhammad, was one of them, got married when the person they married, the gal they married, was 3 or 4 years old. I was like, what? I mean, call me Shelter, whatever, but I didn't know that the guys who were in the Quran and wrote the Quran were like the people in the Old Testament. Remember when Moses said to take all of the women and children and make them sex slaves? Remember that? It's the same exact thing happening in the Quran. It's crazy, dude. Catholic Church is messed up, man. Messed up. And they gave everyone the Bible. Messed up, man. This is a child collection agency and a money stealing usury system, and they are at the center of basically all religions, Western religions. Yeah, the Talmud. I just haven't read it, but it's disgusting. The little bit that I've read is disgusting. That's part of the reason, to be honest with you, man. That's part of the reason why I don't like reading some of those books, because they're so disgusting. It's so disgusting what they're doing and how they treat women. It's so disgusting. Yeah, it's disgusting. Yep. They made it all into lies. It's really sad. Okay, let's finish up here and I'll come back to chat. We'll have enough time. It's going to be awesome. We'll have just enough time for some more chat. Okay. So we finished the myth. We finished the close up. Okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 9 slides and one of them isn't even really a slide. Okay. This opposites does the bullet is yes, okay. Esoteric significance. The transformation is the alchemical mortificatio, death of the old self, and conjunction leading to rebirth. The curse on the pool aligns with the Rosicrucian warning against misuse of spiritual power. It's a good warning. Where unenlightened immersion in spiritual waters, the uninspired pursuit of mysticism, look at this, weakens the seeker. Have you ever thought about that? The curse on the pool aligns with Rosicrucian warning against misuse of spiritual power. What are you seeing all the KM doing? Misusing spiritual power. Where unenlightened immersion in spiritual waters, the uninspired pursuit of mysticism. Name all these people that are joining the cults. There's no inspiration there. They're being led into it. Uninspired pursuit of mysticism weakens the seeker. That means that all these people that are signing up for the Masons and Freemasons weakens the seeker because they're pursuing mysticism through a system, through a hierarchical system with controllers. And those controllers are putting their lives on, meaning the querent, the initiate, they're putting their life on the line and saying, if you share any of this with anyone, we're going to kill you. Does that sound like an enlightened being? When they say to someone who is entering the belief system, when they say to them, if you leave our Masonic system here, our Freemason system, we're going to kill you. We're not only going to kill you, we're going to kill all of your family and all of your friends. You will not exist, and any of your lineage will not exist anymore. We will wipe you out. You have to ask yourself at some point, this is messed up. This is messed up. It's going to weaken the seeker. It's going to weaken the convert. The myth symbolizes the reconciliation of polarities such as active, passive, or intellect, emotion to achieve wholeness. In Jungian psychology, it's the integration of the anima, animus, the female and male. In Kabbalah, it's the union of the Bina and the Chakma, again, the female and male. And in Christianity, it's the union of Eve and Adam, again, female and male, to birth the soul. This is how you can see how the Catholic Church twisted things. They weren't giving birth to people. They're giving birth to the soul. There's a whole different perspective there. The pool of Salmacis is the alchemical vessel where opposites dissolve and emerge. That's why I was talking about the warning of risk. When you put yourself into the pool of water, which is the learning matrix, when you put yourself into that, it's going to dissolve you. And there's great risk there. So be sure you're ready, or it's going to weaken you. The dissolvement won't strengthen you. It will weaken you if you're not ready. Rosicrucian connection. The Rosicrucian path involves shedding lower soul veils, elemental to human, to reach the God plane, the perspective of God, the transformative process mirrored in myth. The Rosicrucian mythical Rosy Cross parallels with cross analogies of suffering and matter, and rose analogies of soul and spirit, all uniting through sacrifice. The Azoth's rebus, standing on the cubic stone, the corpse, right there, you can see at the bottom, like we talked about before, the body, the corpse, embodies the sacrifice, crucifying the ego to achieve divine unity, akin to Hermaphroditus' loss of his original form. Beautiful metaphors there. Wonderful words. The aphorism hints at the Rosicrucian teaching of universal gender principles, male and female, as the secret of creation. That's the aphorism right above there that I just read. These principles are dual aspects of the world's soul, acting and reacting to produce all creative activity, change, and cosmic becoming. Isn't that beautiful? Gender principles operate on every plane of life: submineral, mineral, plant, animal, human, superhuman, and angelic, godlike. Everything in creation manifests meaning some kind of gender activity, a concept surprising to those unfamiliar with esoteric teachings or advanced science, but fundamental to both. And here we'll talk about the Ankh. Many of you guys have seen this in Egyptian mythology. The third aphorism of creation describes the emergence of the universal hermaphrodite, an androgynous manifestation of the neuter world, the one behind the many. This polarized energy, combining masculine and feminine principles, evolves from the neuter world, the one behind the many, marking the beginning of generation and creation, represented symbolically by a cross, male, within a circle, female. That's the Ankh. The circle is the female, that's the wound. And then you have the phallic symbol, which is the downward line, or the straight vertical line is the phallic. And then you have the womb. And this represents eternity, because what does the phallic and the womb bring about? Eternity. Gives birth to the soul, gives birth to a person. That's eternity. That represents eternity. And the person who understands and knows the eternity is shown carrying this. This is understanding at the deeper fundamental level, not understanding just at the sight level. Represented symbolically by a cross, male within a circle, female, or variations like the phallic cross. That's what that is. The Ankh is the phallic cross. The universal androgyne embodies the universal sex principles that drive all creative activity across physical, mental, and spiritual planes. Ancient teachings assert that gender is present in all manifested creation, with masculine and feminine forces driving action and reaction, force and attraction, essential for becoming, change, and creation. Atomic structures, human relationships, galaxies, immune systems, even decay are all equally part and parcel of this natural order. Modern science recognizes gender in plant and animal life, but is beginning to acknowledge it in minerals. The cathode, negative pole of a battery, is the generative pole, pulling in new forms and energies, and is obviously the female, forming, drawing, and grounding pole. Ionization involves female electrons detaching from male companions, seeking new unions, and forming new atoms. This is ionization. This is transferring of ions, resulting in phenomena like heat, light, electricity, and magnetism, and plasma. Chemical affinity and explosive properties like emotions, hydrogen bombs, or the sun are likened to atomic marriages and divorces, driven by endless electro interactions. It's everywhere around us, folks. The duality is everywhere around us. The attraction and revulsion, the male and female gender, it's everywhere. Gender is also active on mental planes, confirming its presence across all planes, physical, mental, and spiritual. The universe is androgynous, and all creation is driven by the merger of genders, a truth that could revolutionize science if fully recognized. The world's soul is composed of both genders, and no universal manifestation or creation would occur without both in the dualistic illusion. The constant action and reaction of male and female principles enable creation, creativity, process, becoming, and change. Do they not? They absolutely do. Without the copulation of genders, there would be no things in the universe, and the ether would remain neuter, alone, and unmanifested. Can you see that? Plain as day. Electromagnetics and magnetism, transformation and action, death and life would not exist without the copulation of gender. To have a top, there must be a bottom. The aphorism statement, the one became two, and the work of generation began, encapsulates the process where the one becomes two, leading to the many through regeneration, reforming, and informing. And second to the last slide. Then we're on to chat. The Rosicrucian teachings emphasize that these dual principles, male stimulating positive and female generative negative, are fundamental to all existence, from atomic interactions to plant, animal, and human life, and even mineral crystallization. Terms like positive and negative clarify that the female cathode or negative pole is the source of generative energy, as seen in electron dynamics and chemical affinities. I mean, think of a woman's body. It's curvy and it attracts. It attracts the male. And that's that generative, the source of generative energy. You could see it everywhere, not in the sense of negative energy, but in the sense of esoteric motivation. In the same way, the male or positive aspect is simply recognizing the action of manifesting participation, not positive in the sense of endorsement. Keep that in mind. This universal sex principle, rooted in ancient esoteric wisdom and increasingly supported by modern science, is the key to all creation, process, and change, informing the one into the many and enabling the diversity of the universe. Therefore, difference is to be celebrated and not chastised. And here I'm going to show you guys, I've got something I'm going to show you. Okay. First of all, here's a little picture of what we've been talking about tonight. The eternal parent, the neutered world soul, and the rebus. Okay, these are forms of consciousness becoming. The eternal parent is superconsciousness, the unspeakable, pure potential. The center is everywhere and circumference nowhere. This is the eternal parent, the infinite, unmanifest, the no thing. Okay, that's what underlies it all. And it's know that. And then we have undifferentiated consciousness, the germ seed. This is what you're tapping into in meditation, the germ seed of all things. Unified essence before duality. That's why when you meditate, you move into the non-dualistic state, a germ in the cosmic egg. And there we see the rebus, the cosmic egg, potential. What you see, the characters and symbols in that egg are potential. And that potential is unlimited because it comes from an unlimited source, the singularity. The undifferentiated consciousness, germ seed, emerging from the eternal parent, and then the mediator, and that's what the anima mundi is. It's the mediator between this germ seed of all things and the beginning of gender. And you can see that the germ seed of all things, well, that's the souls there that have formed from the monads. Here in the picture, show you. Here. There they are, the souls. Okay? They're manifesting. They're the mediator between the neutered world soul and the rebus, the manifested androgyne, the manifested gender world, duality, illusion, polarized consciousness. And believe it or not, that cross right there in Rosicrucianism, what's shown as the cross in Christianity, that's the androgyne. That symbol right there is the androgyne. Both gender energies in one body of consciousness. And now the climactic moment of the night. Are you ready, guys? Check this out. This is what happened to us. We were captured in the midst of a system. And so remember when I said earlier, here's the pick. You pass through from the souls there, the manifested monads, and you pass through the celestial sphere, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the sun, all that. You pass through, and then guess what they did? They had a soul capture system that transferred right when the soul manifested into matter is when they captured us. That's what Bruce Fenton was mentioning in his lectures. This is the capture system they set up so that when you died, you would be recaptured right as you manifest. As you manifest into material reality, it's right there. They got us. And they would strip the soul of some of its power as you manifested into the material reality. In my opinion, this is where they captured us. They captured us right as the soul was manifesting into being. And this has been our situation for over 800,000 years. That's what I subscribe to right now. I'm happy to change my mind. I'm happy to be told, no, you're totally wrong, and here's all the reasons why, and I'll change my opinion because I want to be relevant to what we know. So for what I know now, what I've seen in Bruce's, I really should show that lecture. In Bruce's lecture, should I show that next week? Is what I'm subscribing to at the moment, in that we were a captured system and that the snake caught us as we were manifesting into the material realm. And they actually saw this. Bruce has testimony from people who went out of their bodies. I don't know if how many of you guys subscribe to that, but they left their bodies and they traveled back in time 800,000 years. And the gentleman and the woman that went said that when they turned and looked, and they were on the outside of, they had moved to outside the atmosphere of the earth, and they looked over and they saw the moon, and there were these giant creatures, reptilian-looking creatures, that were around the moon and that were right next to the earth. And they said that one of them looked directly at them, but ignored them. He said that he approached the scene and he was watching the souls as they were coming out of the earth. And he saw as they went to the moon, because you know the moon has a glow. And when people die and they see that white glow, you're not supposed to go towards the glow. That's the trap. The glow is the trap. That's the moon. And they used the moon to attract souls, thinking that they were going to heaven, and they would go right back into the reincarnation of the moon. And there you see it right there, the moon right there, Lune, the sphere of Lune, and they're reincarnating back through the fire and the bitterness into the anima, into the material world. And that's where they caught us. And that's where they were catching people. And his theory, Bruce's theory was, and I'm not sure I subscribed to this, but this was Bruce's theory, that the creatures that you see, the ghosts on the planet, are human beings that have been ripped off or have been exploited for so much of the soul that they had, that they no longer have enough power to incarnate fully, and so they remain a ghost. The undead dead. And that was his theory, was that eventually, if you went through this reincarnation process enough, which is what Buddhism is trying to teach you to get out of, if you went through this reincarnation process enough, eventually they would tear so much off of your soul, so much power out of your soul, that you could not reincarnate, and you would be stuck as a phantom on the planet. And that was his theory for that. That's what was going on. It's interesting. It's an interesting theory, and a lot of people wonder just what a ghost is, and that's an interesting theory. But apparently that system has been shut down. Apparently, from what I understand, that moon reincarnation system has been shut down. But that was another thing that it showed me, was that's what the Buddhists were saying, to leave the realm of reincarnation, to leave this, to escape the system that has been set up to capture people, so that when you died, you had the wherewithal. Your whole life was spent preparing for death. You would have the wherewithal to not go to the light. You would have the wherewithal to be able to enter the universe and not come back down into the planet in material reality and move into the universe, which is your true home. And so that's what I understood, or what I understand now, what they were talking about in Buddhism, in leaving the sphere of reincarnation, leaving the trap of never being able to escape. And it's my theory now, after studying some of the stuff, that I think that this is what has happened. They set up a capture system using the moon because they're ruthless. Okay, we got a few minutes. We got a couple of minutes for comments. Let's see if you guys got anything to say. Yeah, Tibetan Book of the Dead, I bet, talks about some of that, Philip. I haven't had the time to read that yet. Okay, so here's a vote for putting up Bruce. I have the video. I was going to play it, and I just forgot, but it's like an hour and 10, 15 minutes. It's a long video, which means that next week we would start at like, that would be 4, that would be like 3:45, 3:30. That's, maybe I could end earlier next week. Maybe I'll do less slides. I'll tell you what, that's what I'll do, Clueless. That's what I'll do. I'm going to make half the slides so that we don't go as late next week. So we'll finish up around 7 rather than finishing up at 8, and I'll just bring less slides. And then that way I can show Bruce Fenton's lecture. He talks about a war over Florida, over the southern portion of the United States, and a debris field that goes all the way out to Australia. It goes out into the South Pacific, and he has actual pieces of the metals, and he shows and explains to you why this didn't happen when the earth formed. Like, this had to have happened from a battle. It's incredible. And he talks about the moon capture system. He talks about the guys that they have actual, the dude that went into the out-of-body experience and went to the moon capture system. He talks about it in the interview. It's fucking, excuse me, it's unbelievable. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that F word. Sorry, it's unbelievable. Sorry. It's just amazing what is talked about. I'm glad to hear that, Esoteric. That's a good question, and it's because there are people that have engaged in this a lot longer than us who caught into this before we did. And so they've had the chance to find the answers. And that's what happens when you're not caught. You're not caught up. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, it is fringe. I agree. It is friends. Or fringe. Sorry, it is fringe. But it's sure convincing, man. When you see him bring the facts, man, this guy brings the science. I mean, he's awesome. He brings the science, and he's got the pictures of the metals, and he says, this is why this metal was set up in layers. This is why this metal looks like that. This is why this metal looks like that. And it's all based in science, not in his theory and idea, but it's actual. He found the science, and then he's like, okay, I got to put a story, because there's no way these metal particles were made at creation, at the beginning of the, there's no way. The way that they are, the way that they were found, and I'm telling you, it's ingenious, but it's a long time. It's like an hour plus. Yes, don't chase the tunnel of light. Don't go into the light. I think the Vatican is coming to an end. The Vatican, the ending of Pisces and the beginning of Aquarius is the end of the church. All religion is about to die. All religions. In my opinion, in the next 5 years, maybe less, all religions will be gone. All Western religions will all be debunked. They all are bunked. They all will be bunked. We are going into Aquarius. We are going into knowledge. And the knowledge that we are going to have access to far exceeds anything the Catholic Church could ever sell you on. It's coming. But no, I think the Vatican will be no more before too long. They are a pedophilic group, and they deserve to all die and go away and never exist ever again. Ever again. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, I like Fringe too. It's true. It slipped out. I'm sorry. It's true. It slipped out. There are some people that have family members that are here that are younger than adults that are watching this. So I have to really watch my language because I've been written by them, and they say how much I appreciate that I don't have foul language. So I have to really watch that. I've got a sailor's mouth, so I have to watch it. Okay. Yeah, I know. There's I think that we've been attacked many times with meteors. I don't think that's the one time. Yeah, see, I don't think that system is still in place. I think it's been disabled. Has something changed with the moon? Then probably, but I'm not sure. That's getting a little bit over my pay grade. I'm not sure. Who disabled the systems? I want to ask Jason with Archaics that question. Is it an effect of the Yugoslav? I'm sure it's part of it. But who disabled the system? See, that's my thing. That's my thing is who initiated all of this? You know? Was it aliens that initiated it? Was it humans that initiated it? Who initiated all this? Like there are some people that say that the day that JFK was shot, was murdered, was assassinated, they're saying that day was the day that all of the change started, like that many decades ago. It has taken that many decades to get things to the way that it is now, which makes sense. It makes sense because the entire system was sold out. And so, in my opinion, since we are moving to a great awakening, and that is happening, in my opinion, excuse me, you have to get rid of the moon, or you have to get rid of the capture system they were using the moon for. It makes me kind of wonder if the moon was brought in to stabilize Earth a long time ago because it was getting hammered so many times by meteors or whatever, or attacks or whatever, and the moon was brought in to stabilize, to help keep the pole shift contained, to stabilize the orbit, to stabilize the rotation. Again, I'm speaking above my pay grade here, but there's something there. There's something with the moon. There is something there that there's some key elements that we're not familiar with, and so one of the extreme versions I've gotten is that one, that it was used as a capture system, that the Earth was a way station to have international trade of human bodies. And I think they were trading children's bodies with international or with interstellar species. Yes, it's to mitigate it. It's to prevent and mitigate the Great Awakening. Yes, that's why we have to awaken. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is a fantastic question or statement, Thomas. This is why I'm here. Because we have to awaken. It's not going to be handed to us. We have to awaken. People wonder why it's taking so long. It's taking so long because people have to awaken. We are the impediment to this whole thing. The collective, because the whole point of awakening is that you have a species after the process that's still around to continue. And if all this, like you guys have seen, like the population is declining, the species has to have enough of the base in order to continue the species. It has to. And so this whole process that we're in, they have been attempting to keep us from awakening. Because if we don't awaken, guess what happens, man? Guess what happens? The awakening fails. We have to awaken. That's why I am doing this. Because if I can awaken just a handful of people, I've helped the process of transferring us out of this whole negative-oriented energy to this balanced, negative and positive, this balanced organic experience. And we have to awaken. We have to awaken. Work. What map? Let me help you find the map. What map do you want to find? What map do you want to find? Yes, play the video. Okay, I will. What map? Thank you, Melissa. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to let that one slip. What map are you talking about, Conan? Are you talking about the Cult of Baal map? You can look that up on Google. You can get the cult. You get the cult. You can get the Cult of Baal map if you look it up on Google, and it's there for you. It's called the Cult of Baal. What's the name of the guy that did the? Can someone in chat tell me who wrote the Cult of Baal? Go for it, dude. Go for it. Heck yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Link to the emailed you. Can you send? You emailed me. Okay, if I got an email for the Cult of Baal map, I promise you I replied, because I reply to every email that asks that map. You can go to Google. Dylan Monroe, that's his name. Go to Google and search Dylan Monroe, the Cult of Baal, and it will take you to the map. It will take you to the map. His name is Dylan Monroe. Well, I'd be curious to know. I'd be curious to know if he knew anything about the orphanages and about the moon capture thing. I'd be curious if he knew. Maybe he doesn't, but I'd be curious to ask him, because he's done a lot of research. Okay. You know, that's so interesting. I don't know. It's really interesting. There is so much information about the moon, man. And there are there are some seriously conflicting theories about it. That would point to being it's hollow. I don't know. I agree, Caleb. I agree. What is that? Do you think raising your vibration using spagyric tinctures a good, practical, and conscious way to ascend the Kabbalistic tree of life? If I knew what spagyric tinctures were, I have never heard of that in my life. I'm a big believer in tinctures. I think tinctures are a great thing. Big time, especially cannabis tinctures. They're fantastic. But I don't know what that is. I would need to look up into that further. The Kabbalistic tree of life is again reorganizing the world into spheres. And each sphere is an energy. And as you pass through these energies, you move up the Kabbalistic tree of life. Again, these are all pointing to awakening. And all of us are walking each other home. That's what we're doing. We're walking each other home. And the reason and how we walk each other home is by sharing, doing what we're doing tonight. And so I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look that up. And I can look that up for sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's something to it, Dennis or Denise. There's something to it. There's something to it. Here, what did he say? Jason called the rise of the religious right a few years back, and he nailed it with Russell Brand, Candace, and the rest. I just the whole idea of systems needs to go away. Holy cow! What is this, Melissa? Anyone ever heard of Pashalayan awareness? Never. Yeah, Conan, you go to Google and search Dylan Monroe, the Cult of Baal, and you'll find the map. Yeah, see, there's science like that. If they actually have gotten moon rocks, I don't know. I have to see. Some people believe that we never made it there. I don't know. I've heard good theories both ways. Okay, we got 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Do you got any questions for me? I'm trying to see if you guys are just killing it in chat. This is absolutely incredible how many people are in chat. This is unbelievable. This is interesting. Refer to a myth about indigenous people, also known as the Water Brothers, who were said to have stolen the moon's yoke from a fire dragon to make it hollow. Interesting. Interesting. I haven't heard many mythologies that talk about a hollow moon. That's a first one for me. That's good. Here. Did we land on the moon? Flat Earth? What's your opinion, Chuck? I subscribe to a spherical Earth, but I know that there are many people that subscribe to a flat Earth. That's okay. I don't chastise anybody for that. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. My theory on that whole flat spherical Earth thing is, my theory is, I wonder if in different dimensions shapes change. So when you go to like a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th dimension, do the shape of planets change? Does the shape of people change? You know, because when you have phantoms or ghosts that can change shape, so they look differently at different points, and so maybe the Earth is the same way. Maybe. Okay, here, I like to read what you have to say, Caleb. You have to realize that they're not trying to prevent people from waking up. They're trying to keep people asleep. And yeah, it's true. True. It's the same. Yeah, 6 to 1, half dozen to another. And there's a total difference in the aesthetic nature and the physical mental states. Yeah, I totally believe it bleeds into all that other stuff for sure. For sure. I think Conan is a bot. He's asked the same thing over and over again. I think he might be a bot. Here, tell me what you think, 9mm. I think the awakening has a collective consciousness aspect to it. I don't know what that is. Ios. Not every ion, maybe you meant to say ions. Not every person needs to wake up. It's true. I don't think every person needs to wake up either. Eventually, we hit critical mass through our consciousness, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think every person needs to wake up, and I don't think they will. Namely, my parents. My mom and dad will die asleep. I promise you that. They're totally asleep. And my family. I haven't had hardcore discussion about the Great Awakening with every one of my siblings, but from what I gather, they're just basically following Christianity straight to the grave. They're never going to leave it. They're going to follow it right into the they'll follow it right to the grave. Yeah. Thank you, Philip. There it is. He does the best maps. I agree completely. In one of your palms. Sounds like that. Okay. Anybody got any questions? We're about to wrap it up. It just hit 8 o'clock. Hi, Mr. Swindoll. Here we go. Hi, Swamp Fox. Hi, Mr. Swindoll. My dad was Alan Watts. I don't know what that is. Connection. We have chatted before. My question is, I lose system. That's shoot. I thought that was a complete question. I don't even know what that is. Sorry. Sometimes I post these without reading them first. Yep. Big believer in RSO gummies. Big believer in RSO. My wife takes RSO every single day. It's a critical factor to her anti-depression and equilibrium. She does outstanding on RSO. I don't do so well on RSO, but I'm a big believer in it because I've seen so many people healed from it. RSO is Rick Simpson oil. It's made from cannabis. You're welcome, Roy. About to, yes, hit the like. Thank you so much. It helps get the word out. I am completely oppressed on YouTube. Completely. The more y'all that like this and comment on it and stuff, the more I'll get exposed. You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. You guys never give up, do you? You guys never give up. Like I said, I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think I am. But I'm happy to be wrong. I don't got any skin in that game. Happy to be wrong. Whatever. I just want to learn. I just want to grow. I just want to learn and grow. I don't want to be stuck in any system. I can't keep up. You guys are awesome. I'm gonna yeah, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Donna Marie. I'll see you next week. I'm gonna sign off now, guys. I love you so much. Thanks for being here. Next week, let's look what we're going to do. Check it out. All right, so next week, we are going to cover here the one and the many and the universe. Now, we might only cover the one and the many because I'm going to play Bruce Fenton's video. So everyone, please be aware. Please be aware. Hang on. How do I get out of this? Yes. Please be aware next week, dude, we're going to be starting at like 3:30, 3:40. Like it's going to be early next week. So be ready. I'm going to have, dude, this is an awesome lecture, dude. This lecture from Bruce. I am so glad oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys are going to see it. It is so helpful. And he is such a good teacher. So I'll play that next week. We'll start at about 3:45, 3:30, somewhere in there next week. And I'll play his whole video. It's an hour long, hour and 15 minutes long. And then, yeah, we'll go right into, we'll answer some questions. We'll spend some time in chat after that and answer some questions about the soul of the world. You know, it might be better. Would it be better, guys, if I just started it at our normal time? Would that be better if I started at our normal time? Because there are already people that have a hard time getting to this on time. So would it be more fair to them to have Bruce be the opener? I'll go to comments and see what you guys say. Do you guys know I'm not in Portland, Oregon? I'm not in Portland, Oregon. I'm in Washington. Yeah, thank you. It's an awesome night. Thank you. Do you guys want me to do the regular time with the video? Okay, Andrew. I'll do a regular time. Just start at 5 and we'll start. Okay, I'll explain that. That way, I don't want it to be 4 hours. Yes, start at normal time and do Bruce as an opener. Okay, that's what I'll do, Gretchen. Yes. I'll be happy to do them. Those are two different things. The Kabbalion is Hermeticism. The Talmud is Jewish mysticism. Or it's just nasty. I mean, I wonder if I even can cover it. It's so nasty. Okay, that's what we'll do, 9mm. I got 3 votes for pods. All right, so we will start at normal time next week. We will start at 5. I will open with Bruce Fenton's lecture. Yeah, I'll watch that with you guys. That'll be awesome. And then we'll get on to the show. Bruce Fenton. You guys can check him out. He is at X. And he is at Geological SETI, GEOLOGICAL, Geological SETI, SETI. You can find Bruce. He's got the lecture posted, but I'll post it next week because I know a lot of people won't do that. I will start at 5, Clawless. I will start at 5. Love you guys. I'm going to end this tonight with the music. Just real quick. It's 2 minutes of music to end the night. It's kind of a nice way to end the evening. And we will be on our way. Where's my media assets? Here. Okay. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Saturday night. I really appreciate you being here. I'm excited. We got more great stuff to cover next week, and I'm excited about showing Bruce's video, dude. It's going to be awesome. And I will see you guys next week. Take it easy. Bye.